Ed eccoci qua, in ritardissimo no ragazzi in realtà, o meglio sì, però vabbè, si sa, problemi di fuso orario e quindi siete ancora tutti qui ragazzi? Fatemi sentire, io naturalmente c'ho il famiglio che, ecco, sei appena quietato perché mentre facciamo le prove tecniche già ha tentato di salire 2 o 3 volte sulla scrivania. Allora ragazzi, here we are, giochi di tenebra, ecco, ti sei tu, vabbè Filippo, tu non
Sì,
vali.
esatto,
Allora,
sono sempre io.
subito, non voglio farlo aspettare neanche un secondo, perché neanche un secondo. Quindi eccolo Massimo, ciao Massimo. Quindi non vi facciamo aspettare perché vi abbiamo già fatto aspettare tanto, per tanto colpa mia, vabbè poi ve la racconto. E abbiamo l'onore, il piacere, we have the honor, the pleasure, the everything you can imagine. He's laughing, I see. Okay, to have with us great artist in general, a writer, a game designer, an author, a dancer, a musician, everything. So, and we are very, I am glad, honored to have him here. And so, okay, music for him as ever, but more. So,
No,
okay,
no, no. You can. No, no,
Filippo is not able to play, so I will do something. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the great honor to have with us Mr. Phil Satyros Brucato.
Aw.
Applauses, please. Woohoo! Filippo, do something, please. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you. I'm very glad too. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you. Thank you
Thank you,
very much for
thank
having
you.
me, and thank
No,
you
thank you.
everybody who's watching.
No.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. All the
Thank
world,
you for
all
your
the
time.
Mage world is watching tonight, I think. I got people that were going crazy to see you. So it's a great honor for me, really. And first of all, I want to thank you not only to be here, but to be so nice with your fan, so close to your fans. And really, you deserve your your fame because I talked to you during this period, and thank you also for Ben because it's so nice, like you. You're a very real couple, a great couple, and it's always a satisfaction for a fan to see that the real big ones are so humble, so close to the fan, and so really is a pleasure. And also that an honor is a pleasure. So, Phil.
Thank you very much. It's an
Thank
honor and a pleasure as well, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on, and I love Mage fans. I love and appreciate all of you, and
thank
you
you.
folks are the reason I'm still doing this because it's certainly
Yeah.
not the money.
Not everybody.
So you love us because the
Yeah.
two of us are very big Mage fans.
Yeah. Oh my God! The sacred Bible. Oh my God! I forgot my book there. I have to take the book. The sacred book.
The
Okay,
sacred
in a
book.
minute. Then I will go and take it. I forgot it. Yes, because I take in a sort of altar. I've got a sort of
Oh wow!
altar for Mage's 20th anniversary edition. For the
Thank you. That could be an altar. It's large enough.
no, Mage.
Yeah,
Mage.
it
I
could be an
always.
altar itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, first of all, okay, we want to talk. Everybody wants to talk about a lot of things, but first of all, Technocracy Reloaded. That is your last word in design, in game design, not in books, because I know that you have. Okay. Oh, you surprised me with your new stories, your new romance. Yeah, Valhalla.
Valhalla,
Yeah,
Twist of
I
Leaf.
discovered. You didn't tell me about it. I discovered suddenly, so you will talk about it. And also, I don't know if I can spoil the new project you told me about. The Urban. Can I say it?
Red
Red
shoes.
shoes. Oh,
Red shoes,
that's.
okay.
I got
Another
it.
another
I got.
gigantic pile of paper.
Yeah, I will never spoiler it. But I had a little.
Another
Yeah,
another attempt to
a little
kill the
spoiler.
Amazon forest.
Yes, I had a spoiler. I had a spoiler from it. A beautiful scene, beautiful spoiler. But I can't tell anything. So you, as I was telling before, you're a great artist, a complete artist, because you're a writer, you're a game designer, you're a musician, and I approve you. I feel you, and I mean you, and so first of all, when did you think about becoming a game designer? You were an author before, I think. You started with fantasy and so. Tell us
Yeah,
about it.
I started writing professionally. I started gaming in 1979, but I started writing professionally in 1989. I had published a few things before that. I think my first publication was actually in like fourth grade, but I had been writing professionally for several years when Bill Bridges, my old friend and gaming partner and roommate in college,
Oh,
Bill Bridges got the job as the excuse me got the job as the Werewolf line
oh.
developer in 1992, and so I was like, "Hi, professional writer, please remember me." So he hired me
So he
for
got the job. He got the job for Werewolf, and you
yeah.
followed him. Whoa!
Yeah, and our other college friend, Andrew Greenberg, had gotten the job at White Wolf even before then. He was the original Vampire developer, and
Whoa!
he started working with White Wolf in either 1990 or early 1991. And Andrew brought Bill in. Bill brought me in, and we collectively we also brought in people like Sam and Abbott, John Bridges, Bill's brother, John Bridges, Rochelle Udall, Dina McKinney, and Chris Howard,
Mm-hmm.
Emery Barnes. Meanwhile, several of our other college friends had already been working at Chaosium. Sam Shirley and Les Brooks were already working at Chaosium. So there was this a gaming group in Virginia
Huh.
Commonwealth University, begun in 1981 or 1982, called Games Masters, and that
Whoa!
was originally begun by Daniel Greenberg, which is Andrew Greenberg's older brother. Daniel Greenberg, Les Brooks, Sam Shirley, Mike. I'm blanking on Mike's last name, and Tim Callender. And by the time Bill, John, and I got to VCU in 1983, Games Masters had morphed from this a group of friends who got together to play D&D into a group that was exploring the. I've thought about it
Also
actually.
because I will never, remember all those
All the
names.
names, yeah,
All the
and
no, never. So,
and the timeline. Yeah.
but I'm curious about one thing. If I did understand, it was a college project at first for Werewolf. If I understood
No.
something like this. No, you took your friend took the work,
Oh yeah.
okay, and
No,
then
we.
you formed the group for the
No,
gaming group.
no, we were the Werewolf and so forth was about almost 10 years after college.
Okay. Oh,
No, we
okay,
were
okay, okay,
we were
okay.
we were all
Yes.
college graduates by that time. No, we
Oh,
had
yeah.
formed
After
Games Masters was essentially became a sort of a creative
group,
uh, sort
collective.
of a creative critique group for role playing
Yeah.
as an art form.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No. No. I understand. Yeah.
we
Okay.
when Les and Sam went to Chaosium
Yeah,
and
we need
Dan, Andrew,
we
and
need more of those nowadays.
yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
there's some fantastic stuff happening with in the indie gaming scene, and actually, I find that
Oh,
I find all of that very very exciting
Yeah,
and touching.
I'm
he's
really
the
into
indie expert. He's
I'm
the
really
okay.
into
Oh, cool.
the indie gaming scene, also here in Italy. Even though here, well, the scene is really little and with very few people, but here in Italy, it's a thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I want to know. I want to learn more about that because this is. I find just a brief tangent here. I find what is going on in role playing games now to be. I think this is the most creative period the medium has ever had, in part because of
Yeah.
Yeah, I
crowdfunding,
agree.
social media, print
Yeah.
on demand, drive through RPG. We can create games. I mean, like especially like on itch.
Yeah,
You can create a game that is half a page long.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I know that one.
Yeah, and that's I as a creator am fascinated by that. I figure I've done my half million word books, and now recently I've been working on shorter games. Games that are 1,000 words or 2,000 words, or even
Yeah. That's
for a game,
the
of
peculiar thing.
500 words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
and also game wise, it's a period for experimentation, like
exactly.
writing a game about strolling in a forest.
Hmm.
It's something that like 5 years ago was unthinkable.
Yeah, but lots of games now. Lots of games. We got people needs new things, original things, because But I still love the. Okay, I'm a mainstreamer, but no, maybe no, just in some cases. I love both. I love both. It depends on the game. I always say that is a game. If a game is good, it's good. It's not. But I see a lot of willing of desire of experimentation. Lots of author of unknown author I realize, especially in Italy now, lots of very original things, systems, new systems, especially. So you've always been an author of tales and an author of games, more or less. So.
Well, it's I when I first started working for Bill, I didn't consider this game designer was not a career in the even by the early '90s. It was just something that I was doing it for a paycheck. I at that time, and I've written about this a lot in social media. At that time, I was very poor. My then wife and I were struggling. We lived in a terrible neighborhood. I had an awful job, and when having a regular paycheck coming in from writing game stuff was it made our lives easier. And a year later, when my now ex-wife and I were talking about getting divorced, I went for the Mage developer position. I told Bill, I said, I want your job with Mage. And he's like, you have no idea how hard this job is. I'm like, Bill, my life is hell. Anything is an improvement. And I went for it and I got it. And I've been doing it ever since. I actually tried to leave the gaming business in the late 90s. And then I ended up forming, when some friends offered me a position in a gaming company they were beginning, created Laughing Pan Productions, and we created Deliria Fairy Tales for New Millennium. And then I quit that company in 2005, tried to get out of gaming again, but I found that while it was difficult to get short stories published, you had to go and shop it around here and shop it around there, and I had a full-time job, so I didn't have time to write a lot and then shop it around until somebody bought it. But I could always get a job writing game stuff. And in the meantime, around 2005,
so it was simpler to find a job in game design in those years than as a storyteller, as a story writer.
Yeah. Well, it depended on who you knew. It still depends on who you know.
Like in everything in life.
Okay. Ok, diciamo un pochino di cose per can translate just a little thing. Ok, inizialmente io mi sono anche persa perché abbiamo parlato tanto, abbiamo chiesto appunto se è un artista completo, quindi sai quando hai cominciato a pensare di diventare un game designer, e da quello che ho capito praticamente il compagno di stanza di college prese un lavoro, se ho capito bene, prese un lavoro che siamo andati oltre, mi sono scordata, prese un lavoro per Licantropi, per Werewolf, e lui praticamente si fece reclutare, cioè quello che dice, insomma, ci sono, in pratica hanno cominciato a lavorare insieme, quindi, era uno scrittore, lui scriveva prima, poi da quello che ho capito, vabbè, inizialmente la situazione, mi sembra di aver capito, insomma, negli anni 80, parliamo, lui già era uno scrittore dal 70, you write in 70 from since 79, you said? You're right.
I discovered Dungeons and Dragons in 1979. I've actually been writing.
Ha scoperto Dungeons and Dragons come gioco proprio comunque ha scoperto i giochi di ruolo in quel periodo. Comunque ha anche sempre scritto racconti, e anche se insomma la situazione era quella che era, perché comunque è un po' come la situazione nostra in Italia, no? Comunque i racconti a volte sono difficili da far pubblicare, e quindi si trovavano lavori sia nel gioco che ha sempre fatto un po' in parallelo. Da quello che ho capito dipende poi dal tipo di lavori che capitavano. Inizialmente è stata molto dura. Okay, so I know, and something that I normally ask at the end of a live, but now I'm curious because you illustrated your situation there at that time. Actually, you would suggest a young that wanted to be a game designer to do this job. Is there, because I heard someone tell we had another author last week and he said, okay, don't do it, but but I think, what do you think about, is there space for youngs, is there a market, or is all consumed mainstream?
Self-publish. I would not, though if somebody talks to me about trying to get into the industry, although I'm personally not hiring, because I'm the only work in the industry that I'm doing right now is freelance myself, because I stepped down as the Mage developer last year. But I would suggest self-publishing. This is the best time ever for creators to create their own work. The industry itself is not it's not a healthy industry. It has a lot of problems, and I love the medium, and I love the work that I have done. I love a lot of the people that I've worked with. I love the fans. The industry has a lot of problems, and I would not recommend getting into it unless you're willing to deal with the problems. And one of the big problems being all that, I don't get a cent from that. That's all I was paid. That money's gone. And I don't get royalties. None of us get royalties unless we are publishing our own work. And so that's a multi-million-dollar intellectual property that the people who created it don't get money from.
Don't get money. Yeah,
I think it's the same everywhere.
It's like to make a deal with the devil or something like that. Plus, I think that for an Italian game designer would be harder to get into the industry with the capital I. While I can recall a couple of very successful Kickstarter campaigns here by Italian game designers. So probably self-publishing would be the way.
Yeah, self-publishing definitely. And one of the great things about self-publishing and global distribution at this point, by way of social media, print on demand, PDFs, and so forth, is that you don't have to be writing for an American or American British audience in English. I'm encouraging our friends in Greece and our friends in Brazil and our friends in Italy and Germany to write your experiences in your language. Don't try and jump through hoops in ours, because it's not worth it. And two,
that's really encouraging, because I have this inferiority complex about my language.
Everybody has, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right, because I think that we Italian can do do better. No, sorry, I'm joking. No.
To quote Madonna,
yes, I'm quite proud about Italy. If not about the Italians, I'm proud about Italy. No, ok. Intanto abbiamo chiesto se a Phil se suggerisce allo stato attuale a un giovane, suggerirebbe di fare, comunque consiglierebbe di intraprendere la carriera di game designer, e ovviamente quello che anche ci hanno detto altri, il miglior modo soprattutto adesso è l'autopubblicazione, cioè pubblicatevi fate autopubblicazione, perché intanto la libertà, poi non dovete aspettare il discorso, a parte il discorso delle royalties, cioè autori spesso e volentieri nella grande industria non prendono un centesimo di royalties.
È stato pagato per scrivere, ma poi non ha preso le royalties.
Soul of the River. Hey everyone, so what you playing? No, we are not playing. You want to play? If you want to have a role play now, so
sure.
No,
okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, whenever you want, we have to arrange it. Oh, by the way, we were on Technocracy Reloaded, because people want to know about this work, and in my mind, just I got a question, because I see you so much more like a mage, a classic mage, a verbena maybe, according also to your article in Pagan and Wicca reviews that I wrote, that I saw. Very nice reviews. And also because of your work on Werewolf and Changeling, also so fairies, and also for your tales, because you publish a lot of fairy tales, a lot of fantasy tales, urban more. And I love urban fantasy, by the way. And what fascinates you most about technocracy? What's your favorite, for example, your favorite faction? What are you playing? We didn't. I couldn't understand very well your character in your actual role-playing game.
Oh, yeah, in
About
in,
the
in,
cross.
the, in,
I'm
in the
not
actual
sure
play,
if you are an
you're
iteration
posting
X.
on
she's
the Onyx
Syndicate.
Path, on the Onyx Path official channel.
I'm not sure if you're an iteration X or maybe a void engineer.
She was Syndicate.
Syndicate.
Oh,
Yeah.
Syndicate. Okay, I didn't understand
she's
anything.
she's a Syndicate enforcer.
Okay, Syndicate.
She was inspired by the actor and martial artist Amy Johnson,
Oh,
who
Okay.
is
I don't know who
again,
she is, but okay.
check out the movie Lady Bloodfight.
Yeah.
She's the star of the movie Lady
okay,
Bloodfight.
search. Filippo, search.
But she also
Lady
does.
Blockfight. Okay.
She was also stunt double for Black Widow in several of the Marvel movies.
Oh.
She was in blanking on the name, the Accident Man. She's a villain in the Accident Man, and several other films as well. And she also does motion capture for video games.
Okay.
But she's this just a phenomenal stunt
Amy
person.
Johnston, right?
Amy Johnson, yeah.
I had a vampire
Amy
stunt.
Johnson.
I had a vampire stunt a little some time ago. I had a vampire. She was a stunt girl.
Cool.
No, this it reminds to me. So, what
Oh, it's great
fascinates you
because the
most?
stunt won't kill you.
Yeah. I don't know what. I saw something strange on my video. Okay. No. So, what fascinates you most about technocracy? And then I have got other two hot question for you about technocracy.
Well, I guess the short answer is look what we're doing. I mean, what we're doing here right now. This is magic,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
technology magic. And
correspondence to or something like
Yeah,
that.
but it could also be. Be careful because we could also be virtual adepts. Okay, virtual adepts are close, but now they are on their own.
Yeah, but
So technocracy is a little more.
we are not will workers.
It's just for.
We are mere
no.
mortals, so we are using a technology given to us by the technocracy.
Right. And what do you think about? That's my question now.
Mm-hmm.
But technocracy has virtues and also evil. So
yeah, well,
one
everybody
virtue,
does.
okay, one, and I wonder just to quote something from Technocracy Reloaded. If you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to fear. How much do you think? Because this is a concept that is very similar to real debates that have been going on since some criminal facts and bad facts in recent history, like also dark web apart by criminal organizations, and the facts, the sad facts in our recent. How much do you think that technocracy has right in this? Because do you think that like them, that for the sake of a great good, of the greatest good, you can sacrifice the secrets, the privacy, or how much you think that they are the secrets are untouchable?
That's the question. I wish I had an easy answer for that. And that's one of the things I find fascinating about Mage in general and the technocracy in particular, is the idea that when you look at the werewolves and you look at Fomori and you look at vampires and you look at the bizarre unbrewed critters and banes and stuff, the technocracy is right. There are monsters out there. I mean, even you look at the traditions. And the traditions are, I'm a nice little wizard who will slit your throat and sacrifice you to my tree. What?
I know.
One of the things I've spent almost 30 years now critiquing in Mage is the idea that somebody is right, and so their greater good justifies them attacking or killing you. And obviously, I don't agree with that. When you look at the technocracy, on one hand, they want control, and they want control over a chaotic world. They say they want to help the common people. Whether or not they actually do really depends on which technocrat
maybe some idealists. Maybe some idealists. Then that's the other question there. So you think it's quite right to.
No.
Mm,
That's the problem, because the
yeah,
idea of protecting the greater good has justified Nazism, it's justified fascism, it's justified
yeah,
colonialism and imperialism by every country, including the United States. I mean, we justified slavery in this country.
yeah,
We
I know.
justified keeping slavery in
Yeah,
this country at a time when the most eloquent words spoken written in the name of freedom were coming from slave owners, and they discussed they discussed the innate contradiction of saying all men are created equal while owning black people, and they decided that that was an okay compromise to make. They decided that on one hand they could say ultimate liberty, and on the other hand they could send in, they could send in people to take the land from the indigenous Americans and wipe out
yeah,
their culture in the name of freedom. And fuck that. And we're
yeah.
seeing the
You're
repercussions
right.
of that in my country right now.
Yeah.
We have the police justice this thing last night,
Mm.
with the kid with
Oh yeah, yeah.
his AR-15
We
going,
heard about it. Yeah.
yeah,
Sadly,
and
we heard
that's
about
a
it.
perfect example of it. There was a guy trying to break up a fight. The cops showed up. They shot him 7 times in the back. People got pissed because the cops are fucking doing this every fucking day. Um, and things went predictably bad as figured. And then this kid and a bunch of other people came in with guns, wanting an opportunity to shoot somebody. And we are currently, I was just doing it a few minutes before I came on the show. Now we're arguing with each other over whether or not the kid was defending himself by bringing a gun across state lines to shoot people he'd never even met. And that's the kind of fucked up shit that we've got in the world in general, but especially in this country right now,
In the name of the
as
greater good.
in the name of the greater good.
And
Exactly.
ok, just a second, ok, vabbè, Phil ha fatto degli esempi, giustamente ha detto
Yeah.
è affascinante della tecnocrazia, soprattutto il fatto, ha detto una risposta semplice, cosa ti affascina, è il guarda che cosa stiamo facendo anche adesso, questa è magia. Infatti, la magia di corrispondenza, cioè le invenzioni della tecnocrazia ci permettono di fare cose come questa. Quindi anche that in my opinion is not just a correspondence but also mind, because what you say it's influencing the chat, for
Yeah.
example. And, e quindi ho chiesto poi a Phil, ho detto, Frai, quanto ha ragione, diciamo, la tecnocrazia a sacrificare, comunque, cioè, se lui pensa che comunque i diritti, i segreti, la privacy è inalienabile, o comunque quanto nel nome del bene comune, della difesa dai mostri, diciamo, sia giustificato, o meglio, ho fatto l'esempio della realtà, cioè questo concetto che se non hai niente da niente da nascondere, niente da temere, è quello che poi si sta discutendo nella storia reale, diciamo, in questo periodo, dopo tutti i fatti criminali che sono successi, dopo soprattutto anche in America, eccetera, il dark web, tutti questi problemi qui, quanto è giustificabile il controllo o comunque il chiedere di essere trasparenti alle persone in nome del bene comune. E giustamente si stava discutendo del fatto che nel nome del bene comune sono stati fatti i peggiori crimini, quindi comunque chiaramente no, non si possono sacrificare determinate cose al bene comune, secondo Film, anche secondo me, quando si arriva, e che poi ci ha fatto degli esempi abbastanza crudi di episodi che sono capitati, quindi soprattutto la polizia ha parlato, a parte della storia, quando in nome del bene comune, della libertà, sono state tolte le terre agli indigeni d'America, agli indiani d'America. Io sono la prima, voi sapete benissimo, I was telling to them that I'm the first about the Native American. Everybody knows that I got in my heart. I've got them in my heart for a lot of reasons, because I'm passionate about Native Americans. So I feel them very, very much about the people that you were mentioning. E quindi insomma diciamo che ci sono dei limiti a quello che è possibile fare. And what do you think you would do if you had to protect the world from monsters or dangers? Because monster is relative. Monster is relative. The monster is in the eye. The monster is in the eye of the other monsters. But
Monstere, a warning. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, just say monstere, a warning.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, if you have to protect yourself and the world from them without coming to a compromise, without coming to sacrifice maybe the freedom or the secrets of the people or something for the cause.
It's what I'm
For
doing.
example, what?
It's what I'm doing. That's what keeps me doing what I'm doing. This is a funny secret here. I don't actually enjoy writing. I hate it.
Oh.
I
Well-
hate sitting. I hate sitting at the computer and typing. I would much rather be out. I'd much rather be making music. I'd much rather be hiking or doing something physical. I would be about 60 pounds lighter if I wasn't.
You're answering to one of my questions. I wanted to say,
Well-
I wanted to ask you if there were some other forms of art that gave you much satisfaction to you, except writing a part, and you are answering. You're answering to me.
And by the
So-
way, that's encouraging too, because I'm a writer too, and also I hate writing, but because it's exhausting. Like I'd rather run 1 mile and a half than write an entire day
Here.
because it's really exhausting.
It is. It absolutely
Brother,
is.
Okay, I make you finish, and then I got.
We got a question from the audience?
Yeah, I know. I got a hot sentence that maybe you want to discuss with him. As safe reality is worth any price.
Nope.
Someone says.
Nope. Because safe for you is unsafe for somebody else.
And good for you, it's
be.
evil from somebody
Exactly.
else.
And that's
So
one of the
you-
things I've been saying in
And
Mage.
yeah,
So
and,
you were saying-
well,
you were
speaking
telling-
about Technocracy Reloaded, the thing that struck me the most, I think it comes from the very introduction, when, from their point of view, they are saying we are losing, which
Yeah, I
is
read
something
that.
that usually the traditions say. But if you think about it, it's right, because nowadays people, they set 5G towers on fire because they believe that it spreads the virus, or they believe that the Earth is flat. So from the technocracy point of view, they are losing.
And
But
coronavirus
from the
isn't
tradition,
real. We
Yeah.
haven't lost almost 200,000 people
Solo
in the
the
last 6
Raver.
months.
while from the tradition's point of view,
Yeah.
they are losing. So one
Yeah.
of the most powerful thing about Mage is
I
that
think we came here more than losing. I think we came to the big question, to the big crisis, because with Technocracy Reloaded. Oh, just a second, because I was curious because I didn't let you finish. I'm sorry before that you were saying I will do what I'm actually doing. So you do to inform the people. You mean inform the people about dangers and evil and goods, and they can protect themselves. You say.
Yeah, inspire and inform. I mean, that
Very
for
good,
me.
very nice.
For me, the thing that keeps me writing, other than paycheck. I mean, of
So you
all the things
believe
that I
you believe in vampires and werewolf. No, sorry.
not in
Just joking.
vampires
we're
and werewolves,
metaphorical
but
vampires. They exist.
Metaphorical.
Oh, metaphorical.
Speaking.
but I do believe in metaphysical forces. I mean, I've experienced them.
Yeah.
I've had real metaphysical
Okay.
experience. It's one of the reasons why I always said that I would never do a Nefandi Player's Guide, which, despite what some people say, the Book of the Fallen is not a Nefandi Player's Guide. If anything, it's 200,000 words of reasons you shouldn't play that kind of character.
Okay. Well,
Ah.
I have a question about this,
This is
but
very
if you want, I
interesting.
can address this topic later.
Yeah, no. We will talk about it later because I'm very, very interested about because I want to tell you, are you a mage? Joking, but this is a very interesting thing that you are saying to me because I want to talk with you about experiences of it because a mage is so inspired. Mage, it's so sometimes you look into the words and you look at mage you read mage and you can say how much of the word is inside mage and how much of mage is inside of the word. It's so inspired from religions, from spiritualities, from cultures that it's so evocative inside. For example, the concept of the epiphanies is something that I experimented. That many authors also, Joyce, they talk in the literature. So it's lots of things, and I want to discuss it about this experience, about this kind of experience with you. And but now I was saying that, according with Filippo, that we came to the big crisis because we have idealists the idealistic technocrats. But the question is one. According also with the thoughts of John Courage at the start of Technocracy Reloaded, he thinks about the idealistic part of the technocracy. But at the same time, he sees himself, like every technocrat, as an operative, as a serve of the movement. Okay, so you think it's really possible to have a big change of the technocracy because of the new idealistic ones? Because I think if you're an idealistic one, okay, operative, but you think yourself at the same time like an operative that have to serve to obey for the greatest good to the movement, how can you break the circle? How can you do something rebel? How can you rebel against the system if you think yourself a rebel but also an operative, and you have to obey to the system?
Yeah, that's the sort of that's the sort of paradox, small p paradox that we deal with in real life, and it's one of the.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's true of all of the factions, although especially with the technocrats, but it's true of the traditions and even to a degree with the crafts. The Defendi and Marauders are often an entirely different direction, because with the Marauders it's just like my reality is the only reality, and the Defendi are like fuck everybody.
I love it. That's the way I think.
Reality shouldn't exist.
Crazy
put humanity out of its out of its misery, but it's when Rich Thomas and I started working on started brainstorming what we wanted from Mage 20, we agreed that we wanted Mage 20 to be a Mage for all Mage fans. That is, the people who loved first edition, revised second edition, who wanted to play technocrats, who wanted to play tradition mages. We didn't want to just slap a new coat of paint over the same thing that came out, in 1995 or 1993, or 1999. I wanted to bring it forward, into 2012, which is I wrote it in 2012 and 2013.
Yeah, and I think you all did a great job.
Thank you.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. But one of the things that I felt really seriously needed to be done was it needed to address the idea that there wasn't a good guys and bad guys, and that the roles that were described in the 1990s, I was saying, back in 1993, this is screwed, but especially by 2013, my feeling was the traditions and the technocracy need to get the fuck over themselves and move forward, because both of those groups were mired, as far as I'm concerned, both in game, in a meta sense, both in the intellectual property was outdated, and the groups were, had an outdated mindset. And so that's why I chose in the preludes to take Secret Agent John Courage, who is a signature character from Mage First and Second Edition, a technocrat, who has a really kind of ambiguous loyalty, and to take Leanne Milner, who is a signature character from the revised era, who is a major power player in the traditions, but who's also calls the traditions on their shit. Give the two of them a shared background, and give them a shared purpose and a shared enemy. The shared enemy being the forces of corruption and annihilation that just want to wipe out everybody, and the shared purpose of moving beyond this stupid ascension war, good versus evil thing, into actual progress and the actual salvation of humanity, rather than letting humanity go down the drain, as I fear we're doing now. The one of the core themes in Mage 20, aside from Mage belongs to the fans, because I'm not going to tell anybody what's the right way to play Mage or the wrong way to play Mage. I think the best way to play Mage is the way your group wants to play.
Please say to them. Say that
there
to
is
them,
no right or wrong way to play Mage.
Oh my God! That's much more open-minded you're much more open-minded. That a lot of fan I know that are always quarreling about. Okay, no, it's my way. This is the way to play
Well,
this part. This is the way to
it's
play this
way-
part.
then almost every fan I know.
So no. So Mage is the beauty of Mage is that it's so open. Also, if you got a strong, very well structured game. Okay, it's not a game, a general game like okay, sort of, but it's very well structured. It's full of things you can use, but it's open. Also, the meta plot is open. You can change. You can choose also because if you want to see from a mage point of view, you got the power to manage to deal with time and space. So you can change everything you want if you want. And if you got the most power, and so you think that technocracy. Okay, how can this rebellion develop? For example, you think there will be a natural thing, like in the history, real history. Also, okay, with the help of some special people like John Courage or other or mages, particular mages or whoever. But also, you think you really they really need these heroes. This or the process would be natural, like in history they say things go sometimes because the young also without being conscious of this they want to be loyal to the movement, but they are rebel inside. Now they see the old things and they so go on without realizing and then become. Do you think they will be a silent rebellion inside of the, or you are more brought to a sort of war?
I think it depends on how you want to run the game. I
want your vision. Your vision. Or you're more for the war, more for the silent rebellion.
I personally favor as little open violence as possible, because like I said, I grew up I grew up fighting. There were violence issues in my family. When I was in my 20s, I lived in a very bad neighborhood where literally some guy was killed in the apartment building next to ours. One of our downstairs neighbors was beaten almost to death with baseball bats by his so-called friends, and we listened to people beat each other all the time. I got in lots of fights. I was very, very lucky to get out of that era of my life alive and not in jail. And so I know from experience that the moment that somebody swings a fist, much less pulls a gun or something like that, everything changes. You can't take that back. I know that it changes you because it changed me. And one of the things that I learned from that period was that I liked fighting too much. And I almost got myself locked up because I got involved in a fight that I had no business being in, and I was extraordinarily lucky to not be arrested or shot that night.
Yeah, also because violence has this bad tendency to escalate.
Exactly.
That's something similar. That's why I always play just to enjoy myself. I very often play. Not violent, but very combative, very combat PGs. But in my life, I'm not violent person because of something similar to what you said. Okay, so you think about a great revolution, spontaneous revolution with time.
It's a little of both. And please, I want to finish this because the other part of this is important. I also learned the same time that there are sometimes when violence is the only thing that works. There was one day where we heard my then wife and I heard someone being strangled by her boyfriend who was trying to rape her, and I went downstairs. I threw myself at the door until he let her out, and then we took her up into our apartment, and then he followed and he threw himself at our door. Smashed the door open, knocked my wife and the other woman sprawling. And the next thing I remember, I had him up against the neighbor's door, was beating his head against the door, and threw him down the stairs. And that, at that time, that was the only thing that worked. I couldn't have talked him out of it.
I know.
And at that point, honestly, I don't think he deserved to be talked down after what he was trying to do. And so I know from my own experience that violence is that violence is sometimes necessary, but violence always is risky, always changes, it always has consequences you don't expect. And so I believe very strongly in using every potential avenue to avoid violence, and also recognizing that sometimes the only thing a person will understand is having their head beaten up against the door. And the thing that scares me about what's going on in my country right now, and by extension of the world in general, is I don't know where the next move is. I honestly don't know. If the United States turns into the kind of war zone that some people seem to want it to be, nobody wins. Everybody loses, and I mean everybody on a global scale.
On a global scale, yeah. Well,
but we cannot continue like we are. It can't happen. And so I'm scared. I've actually had a hard time writing Mage those last two books, and I was critiquing the idea of violence and the idea of violent change in both Technocracy Reloaded and the Book of the Fallen, because in the Book of the Fallen, rather than do a book full of booga booga Cthulhu mages, I was going, no, look, the enemy is right there, the enemy is out next door, the enemy is in your fucking mirror, the enemy is real. Yes, the Nefandi are fictional, but people who will stage bum fights on YouTube and get two guys to beat each other with nail-studded bats and think that's funny, those people are real. Cops who will shoot somebody in the back because they don't like the fact that we had a black president, those people are real, and they are the enemy. And what do we do with that enemy? First, we have to recognize, one, that the enemy exists, that they are real. Two, we have to recognize, as I did back during those days, that I have the potential to be that enemy too. I don't want to be that person. And a big part of my life has involved a struggle of knowing the lure of extremity, and knowing that that's not the person I want to be, and finding other ways of changing the world and influencing the world that don't harm other people. Because to me, the ultimate sins to me are malignant harm, that is deliberately hurting people, deliberately harming people unconsensually, and waste. And we have a world that is built right now, not only that is built, but a world that has made malice and cruelty and waste fashionable. And I find that evil. There is no word for that but evil. So I personally, as an artist and as a bard, charismatic person, human being, magician, whatever you want to call me or consider me, to me, my goal is to inspire people to want more, to want better and be better than who we are and what we have. And whether that's in Mage, whether it's in Power Chords, whether it's in Valhalla, or Red Shoes, or Deliria, whatever, that to me is my ultimate art. My ultimate goal is to inspire people to change the world and themselves for the better, because what we've got right now is fucked.
Yeah. Also, if you have to flaunt the sad, as you said, the sad reality that sometimes heroes, also good heroes, have to fight.
Yeah.
Have to fight, because evil doesn't hear. Sometimes it's stronger.
We've got to the point, and I don't think this is a new thing.
The changing is long. If you have to do just by inspiring people, and it's the first fight you have to do. But sometimes, as you say, also in the stories, also in the romance, in the games, every hero has to fight.
Sometimes, yeah.
Later,
and that's why another big theme in Mage is consequence. You don't just in first edition Mage, and this was a problem I had an ethical issue with, and so I've been critiquing it ever since. First edition Mage presented the idea of, if you want a coincidence, if you want to, blow somebody up by coincidence, then you can just make a gas main blow up. And my thought, especially having just come from a poor neighborhood, was, what about the people whose homes
living
you just
there?
destroyed?
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting, because there is first
can I say just a very quick thing? I just want to thank you for sharing with us your personal story. It was very touchy to me.
Thank you, really.
Also because I was lucky enough to never really experience violence. It was really touchy, and I just wanted to thank you about this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was. I'm feeling you. I didn't tell you thank you, but I was thinking about, because I swear, because I feel some things that you said, because here in Rome, when I live, when I was very young, I was in another quarter also, neighbor, another neighbor, and I was quite easy and okay and calm and quiet, but there were many violent situations around, and I saw, and I was bullied. I don't know, come si dice bullizzata in inglese, mica mi ricordo. I was bullied from guys.
Bullied?
I was a victim in my school time, and I had to fight sometimes. But I thought, like you, I was I gave up with violence when I was young because of another fact. So I tried to inspire something better in their life, because I saw the people, themselves that were having violence on me, that they were the victims too, because I saw their families, I saw the way they lived. I had the chance to see the way they lived, and I understood. I realized that I was a victim, but they were the first victims. So I try to talk with them. If they ask me something, a favor, for example, in the school time, please help me with that. I did with my heart. Also, if they were aggressive with me, but now sometimes I go and see them now that I are grown up on Facebook maybe, and I saw them very different, and many of them that they are changed a lot with families and so on. So I can be angry with them.
Yeah, violence.
Anymore. But I
violence
feel you.
fosters, violence
you.
fosters violence, but you had the chance to break
That's
the
why
circle.
I told that I have a lot of PGs, like combat PGs, like Bruca and so on. But I am a good one inside. Also, when I am a vampire or a Bruca, I'm just combat. I'm just a fighting one, but not evil. Ok, traduco solo un attimo. Discorso lunghissimo, nel succo praticamente ho detto come faresti a difendere comunque la tua famiglia senza, cioè parlando della tecnocrazia, senza sacrificare qualcosa alla causa, o comunque senza combattere, senza violenza, senza poter comunque arrivare a un compromesso, o comunque senza tradire i segreti delle persone, eccetera. E la sua visione, ho chiesto la sua visione sulla rivoluzione della tecnocrazia, perché ho detto, se loro pensano a se stessi come operativi, cioè quindi fedeli alla causa, fedeli alla tecnocrazia, che bisogna obbedire, ma contemporaneamente vedono il vecchio della tecnocrazia, quindi comunque cominciano a vedere quello che non va, si rivede la grande crisi. Com'è possibile, è veramente possibile una rivoluzione della tecnocrazia se gli stessi idealisti che vogliono cambiarla comunque si sentono operativi e quindi vogliono essere fedeli? E soprattutto, come secondo te avverrà la vera rivoluzione? Tramite una guerra? Prima o poi si spaccherà, ci sarà una guerra, o tramite proprio la rivoluzione silenziosa, cioè quello che alla fine col tempo, diciamo, cambia inconsapevolmente, cioè i giovani vanno avanti e cambiano le cose piano, quindi c'è veramente bisogno di questi grandi eroi tipo John Courage, tipo altri maghi che facciano grandi azioni, perché nella storia, in the history, I'm selling to them the things that I said before, that in history is discussed they discuss the thing that if you really need the great person, great history persons that had changed a lot in one time, or the same things would change the same with time, in more time, but the same. E quindi insomma ho detto c'è veramente bisogno di questi grandi eroi che combattono e che cambiano tutto in poco, oppure la rivoluzione come nella storia ci può essere, come si dice, anche dei grandi personaggi, avverrebbe comunque soltanto con più tempo. E lui ci ha dato la sua visione, che per ovvi motivi di vita ha condiviso con noi alcuni episodi di violenza purtroppo che ha subito, di cui è stato testimone, anche coinvolto, in cui è stato coinvolto nel suo quartiere in America, e anche la sua visione del fatto che la violenza ci porta tutti alla rovina, quindi proprio a livello politico globale non stiamo andando bene. E quindi che chiaramente tutto quello che lui cerca di fare come artista, come scrittore, come quello che vi pare, ha detto anche come semplicemente uomo carismatico, che può trasmettere qualcosa, ispirare tramite infatti prima ci ha detto che lui odia scrivere in questo momento, lui preferirebbe fare altre cose, musica, eccetera, però scrive perché comunque è un modo, anche con Mage, anche con i suoi racconti, con tutto quello che scrive, di ispirare le persone a diventare migliori, quindi comunque a cambiare le cose per il meglio prima che sia troppo tardi. So yeah, it was a beautiful story. Sorry for the translation. It was a little long because we went on speaking, because I like you. I like hearing you speaking.
Thank
it's
you.
A pleasure.
I like you.
It's a pleasure.
I am really enjoying listening to you, because Italian is such a beautiful language, and I haven't.
Thank you.
all of the
Thank you.
Italian that I've heard, because again,
So
my
you
family's
forgive my
Sicilian.
accent? So you forgive my English accent?
Oh no,
And
actually, I'm
sometimes
loving it.
oh, thank you,
No,
because sometimes I forgot the words, and because I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous that you are here. I'm pretending that I'm not nervous. You know. I told you
well,
about, the funny thing that I just to say that before the live, I was telling to him to him, okay, I'm so nervous. I can eat. I can do. Okay, pretend that I didn't tell you. Okay. So I was searching from you comfort from you because I was
no,
nervous.
no,
So
you are wonderful, dear. You are both wonderful. Thank you so much.
no,
Thank you
you're
too.
wonderful. You're wonderful. We love you. Okay, and I wanted to ask you because but sometimes I got some question that I took note about. About changeling and games like changeling or werewolf, because and I was telling to you that I see you. I have a vision of you more than, like a classic mage of urbana or someone who's near
Wild,
to the
wild
nature.
and primal, wild and
Yeah, you're
primal.
beautiful. I told you before. We want you like you are wild. You're beautiful like you are wild and like a wolf. No, but
That's it.
I was wondering. What are what's the part that you enjoy much about where when you work with werewolf and changeling and the creature of the nature? What's funniest thing for you? What's the part that you enjoy too much to write? And, and what's the
Well,
creature you prefer?
okay.
In all this world, in all the world of darkness, what's your favorite creature?
Oh, werewolves.
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 Yeah, I
I've always
guessed.
been into werewolves ever since when I was a kid. I think eight. I think it was 8 years old when I first discovered the comic book Werewolf by Night in the mid 70s,
Oh,
and that was my favorite comic. And the guy in that comic, Jack Russell, was this. This guy who on one hand he's like trying to be he's just trying to be like a normal dude. I think he's like, yeah, from his 18th birthday he turned into a werewolf and stuff. Is on one hand he's trying to be this normal dude, and on the other hand he's like, and every full moon, three nights three nights a month,
A month,
he
yeah.
turns into this wild beast that just wants to be in the forest and
yeah.
will kill anything that gets in his way. And then he would wake up, in the woods, with his clothes all torn up and barefoot,
So
stuff like that, going, oh shit, here, and
so
walk back
wild
home and do it again.
violence. So just wild violence is justified.
Yeah. Oh well, that's
Just the animal
that's
one.
nature. That's nature. Of course,
Yeah.
the more time you spend in nature and the more time you spend around animals, you also realize animals don't hurt each other for no
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. That's why I
Yeah,
told. I was
uh,
joking, but that's why I
yeah.
told it because
If I
I
recall
think.
correctly, that's one thing is addressed in the Book of the Fallen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
there's an example from the book about a spider and a fly, and neither of them are evil,
Yeah.
because
They're
well, the spider kills the fly because well, it has to eat, while the fly doesn't want to get caught in the spider web, but the spider would die. So
yeah.
well, from the point of view of the spider, the fly is evil because it's trying to fly away.
But I don't think that I don't think that a fly can realize evil or
Yeah,
good
yeah,
or
well,
evil. Because okay,
fly,
surviving,
it's
flies
just
in your
surviving.
kitchen.
yeah,
Get,
it was just an example, of
laying
course.
maggots in your food in your kitchen. Flies are evil.
Yeah, okay.
But no, it's natural. Natural predation, natural. The role of the ecological role of predator and prey, which is that in itself is a false dichotomy, because every living thing is a predator on something. I mean, grass is a
That's
living
right.
thing too. The cow that's eating the grass is also eating bugs, is also eating other living things.
Yeah.
So
The
the idea
You
that
think that we?
the circle of life. Yeah.
yeah, it's we humans fuck it up by bringing intentional evil in. And I mean, it's not saying that an animal can't be malicious. The more you get to know the more you spend time around animals have personality, and some animals are more asshole than others. But we turn it into an institution. Even a cat. I was saying this a few weeks ago, and I think it was one of the Mage groups. a cat can be mean. A cat can, bat a mouse around for a while. The mouse is, as far as the mouse is concerned, the mouse is being tortured. But the cat is not going to invent a torture rack.
My cat used to do this with a very nice. I love it because this is true because we have both a cat. You saw my cat before, and he used to come when he was younger. Now he preferred to sleep, but he used to come with sometimes with little mouses on his mouth. But he was so happy, like to say, "Hey, I gave you food. I'm giving you food." So I had to say to him, that's why they are not evil at all. You realize it if you have an animal, and you have to go to them and say, "Okay, dear, thank you, leave it, but thank you anyway," because they feel they don't do with malice. They do because they want you to give you food, so it's a good action for them, and you don't have to you don't have to get angry with them. Right. You have to thank it. You have to thank them, and then trying to get the poor mouse escape in my because I try to free to free animals anyway. So you think that is I agree with you. And for what concern the fairies. You said to me, you told me that you love, you co-created the dreaming, Changeling, the dreaming, but you prefer the lost.
I prefer the lost, yeah.
Okay, tell us about it.
Well, so it all ties in together. Where I grew up, when I was a child, there were a lot of woods. The home that we lived in between my father's military, so we moved around. But the main home that I grew up in from the time that I was 5 until the time that I was around 20-something was, when we first moved there, was surrounded by woods. The development was still being built.
In which state, if I can ask?
Virginia.
Virginia. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
You said it before.
You're the second one. You're the second author here to be surrounded by the woods. When you're lucky you. And
that's what I did. I would either be in my room. I was a very, very shy child, which is funny, to look at me now, but I was a very shy and introverted child. And so I would either be in my room telling my stories with my toys, or I would be out in the woods telling stories with my mind, or maybe, bring some of my toys out in the woods.
I feel you once again.
But that's and something I discovered, and I've written a lot about. There's some stuff about that in the author notes of this book.
Yeah, we talk about this book later, huh? Thank you.
But I am also very sensitive, but emotionally, but physically and metaphysically, I'm very sensitive to energy, and I'm very sensitive to sensation. And when I was young, sensation bothered me because I was so oversensitive that I didn't know how to process it. So I wore long pants, long sleeves, socks, shoes, whole 9 yards. And then when I hit my teens, I started craving sensation, especially, when I became sexually active. But even before then, I began craving sensation, and so I started wearing less and less and less. And when I went to college, I began, nude modeling. In between then and that time, I had gotten involved in acting, and of course that's all about sharing this intense, energetic, and emotional connection in front of all of these people. And first time,
even though you're wearing a mask.
Yeah. Well, I was literally wearing a mask actually in my first play.
I don't live theater like this anyway. We can discuss this thing. I don't think it's a mask that you. I think you live. It's like role playing sometimes, or role playing is like theater sometimes. More than wearing a mask, I feel theater role playing like I'm leaving the other parts of me.
Yes, I call that aspecting.
The other part of me that I never consider, that I know, I don't know very well. I discover things. It's not my mask.
I will send you a link on that right now because I call that aspecting, and that is a huge part of my work.
Okay.
That's why I suffered so much when my PG dies.
That is called bleeding,
Yeah, there's a term. Yeah, they call that bleeding.
Oh yeah, we discussed in a live.
Sending you the link right now. I think you'll find this article, and please feel free to share this.
I'm gonna share it with our audience.
But
thank you, Phil.
In my first stage appearance was in a was in an avant-garde play called Then, and myself and my coworker, co-star Malin, we were wearing bags over our heads with holes cut out for our eyes and mouth. And the entire play is two characters with bags over their heads. And then at the very end of the story, my character says, I'm not going to insulate myself anymore. Even if it kills me, I'm going to take the bag off. And I start to take the bag off, and the lights go out. That was
And
literally
that's the end of the play. Right?
That's the end of the play, and it wound up being very influential to me, both in terms of it was my first time in front of an audience, and I was like, wow, I love this. I want to spend the rest of my life doing this. And it was also symbolically appropriate for me to have appeared on stage that first time with a bag that both my character and the actor decided it's time to take the bag off and be who I was. And that's when I changed. That's when I got into theater when I was 15, and I was 16 the first time I was on stage, but I got involved in theater class when I was 15. When I got involved in that, which was around the time that I got involved with role playing, with D&D, which is also the time that I discovered heavy metal music, which is just before I discovered actually. Same year, actually, I also discovered punk rock.
You're not the only one, it seems. It's very connected. Lots of authors and fan of once the idea of the player, of the role player, was sort of nerdy and metal player. Metal music.
Oh, it was totally when I was in high school. Again, late 70s to early 80s. When I was in high school, both the people who liked heavy metal, and very few people liked punk in my high school. Anyway, I was one of the very few people I knew who liked it. And role playing, almost no one had heard of role playing in my high school. If I was not the first gamer in my college, my high school rather, I was one of the first.
I feel you once again.
Yeah, and it was just considered odd. But the thing is, I went from being an introverted freshman in 1979 into being a popular honor student, drama school, a drama star, basically, being cast in the plays and stuff, when I graduated in 1983. And when I graduated that summer, I got involved in medieval recreation. And at that point, knowing that I was going to go to college, and I went to college for theater, but knowing that I was going to go to college, I said, I'm going to be leaving everybody who knows me behind. I get to decide who I am from now on. And the person that I want to be, this goes back to your question earlier, the person I want to be is this wild, sensual, rebellious, energetic, intense, I want to be like that. I don't want to be all wrapped up, and I didn't want to be,
I love this man.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
Okay, I propose you once again the international exchange, because Filippo wants to come in America, so you could come here to co-conduct with me the lives, and he comes to write. So you don't want to write, you hate writing. He writes for you. You come with me, okay?
Yeah.
You accept.
Okay.
Is it right for you? Perfect. We make our cats know each other, so maybe okay. No, but it's okay. And so the fairies also, and you see fairies like this, like a sort of wild creatures, or because they're very different from werewolf, because they're all natural creatures. But so I always saw werewolves, in spite of their damnation in a way, because all the world of darkness creatures are damned in a way, but they're so proud of themselves in tribes and in tribes, and but the fairies are so, on the contrary, so damned, so doomed, so lost. That's why I love also a lot. And the dreaming also, there's a, if you say it, I was telling in one of our lives, once again, that if you say that the drama, the tragedy of the challenge, the dreaming, is to lose the charm, to lose the glamour, because it seems like funny, but it's not funny, because if you're a creature that lives with the glamour, it's like they draw away the blood from your vein. And it's a tragedy, but it's lost maybe I think that lost is much more felt or understood, because the lost creature of the legends, maybe here in Italy, or I don't know why, lost is maybe more iconical, because
Yeah.
you think about the fairies of the tales, of the ancient tales, more
Mhm.
than creature of glamour. You think about the child, the exchange child, the lost child, the labyrinth, also
Yeah.
the king of of the fairies, like the gnomes, and that's maybe why it's more appealing. I think that's why
Yeah.
you like most. Why you like most, for example.
Part of it, part of it is also personal, because when I was actually involved in the process of creating Changing the Lost, and I was involved in Wraith, and from the
Ah,
inside.
Wraith, I love. He's my master. He's my master of
Yeah,
Wraith. I'm playing now.
I will storytelling
I
Wraith
love Wraith.
with Laura, and
Oh, cool.
we
Oh, yeah,
decided
you mentioned
to
that. You mentioned that.
we decided to set our chronicles in in the Stonewall period in
Yay.
1969. Even though nobody was died in the riot, in our timeline a couple of people died in the during the riots,
I'm one.
and now they are wraiths.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
so you
funny you
tell
should
about that.
mention that, and that you should be wearing that T-shirt, because just about 3 hours ago, I was talking with someone on Twitter who had not realized that there were laws that there were laws about being gay in the United States that until the 2003.
And three, yeah.
And I was telling her about the Stonewall riots, and I said that's literally what the Stonewall riots were about, because the sodomy laws gave the police an opportunity to just drive around town and go
Yeah,
into the
beat,
gay
yeah.
bar and bust
And
people for being gay, and fuck that, and finally at Stonewall,
gay or queer,
they said
because
no.
they back then they
Mhm.
well, the words that like transsexuality and bisexuality or like queer gender and the labels, well, they didn't exist back then.
But they did.
Yeah, but they did. But they
wouldn't
did.
have they wouldn't have the terminology.
Yeah,
those-
well,
those-
yeah, and it was harder for them to live without the terminology.
Right.
Yeah,
And that
because
was.
when you have a name, you can like define yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
While
Exactly.
if everybody calls you a monster, chances are you become a monster, or you think about yourself as a
You
monster.
think of yourself as a monster. That was one of my. I mean, I have identified as queer since the early '80s, and have been involved in queer culture since '83 when I went to college openly. But one of my old gaming buddies, Scott, had committed suicide when he came out to his parents, and they did the whole shame, we cast you out thing, and he killed himself. And I think
Yeah, and sadly, it's something that is still happening.
it's still happening. Exactly. That's one of the other things that energizes and inspires my work, is just the compassion for people who are hurt and outcast and marginalized, and rage at the people who hurt them. And it's one of the reasons why I get so angry when I see like some of the more toxic elements of White Wolf culture, White Wolf fan culture,
Yeah.
being sexist, being racist, being queerphobic. And I go, what the fuck? Did you people even read our fucking books?
Yeah,
When did you think? Hi, half of us were queer. Almost half of the creative staff of White Wolf, even back in the '90s, were women. A number of our people were not white. Where does anybody get off on the idea that play? I will use this rant here before I go any further onto it to amend the one way that you can play Mage or any World of Darkness thing wrong is to use it as an excuse to hate people. Or I should say, as an excuse to hate marginalized people and act like a racist, sexist, queerphobic fuck. That is, as far as I'm concerned, that is the wrong way to play it.
and,
No,
and
but I
that's
think it's not
and
just a
that's-
problem
and
of Mage. I think it's a problem of the player and people in
problem of
general, because
people,
we
yeah,
have
and the
lots of
culture in general.
discussions, lots of discussion
Yeah.
about in our groups in these periods, especially for the women condition in the games, for the and they are and the things that I hate, thing that I hate, that you can see in these discussions, inside these discussions, that can be a compromise. They don't have a compromise. You see, the people with best intentions. Okay, I want the women integrated, more integrated. I think they are integrated anyway. People, I want more respect for this kind of people, the women, etc., etc. And they fight more, and they become more oppressive sometimes, or more fighting than the others, and the others respond, and then there's a war, always war, in something that should be a game, something that unites us, something that is an evasion, also also a chance to reflect. For example, in a game like Mage, or big ones like that, and with thanks to men like you that inspires ourselves, that get inspiration into. But anyway, that's not right. And they it's like they are blind. They don't understand that they have to. You're right. They have to read better into the lines of the game to understand the message.
Yeah.
And the message. And they. Oh, by the way. So ok, we have your favorite creature. Ok, Filippo, questa è tua, puoi tradurre un pochettino quello, perché da prima che abbiamo parlato delle tue esperienze di teatro, abbiamo chiesto comunque in generale a translating a little bit, abbiamo chiesto in generale, è stato lunghissimo, quindi io vado per le cose importanti. Quali sono intanto le sue creature preferite? Vabbè, i licantropi, quello l'avete capito tutti, anche perché è cresciuto anche lui con i boschi, quindi era un bambino timido. Ha detto, io ho detto ai figli, ma no perché fossi timida, perché io ero strana, ero dicotomica, io non ero timida, però contemporaneamente ero come lui, nel senso andavo nei boschi a scrivere, a fare, quindi ho detto ti capisco, oppure leggevo tanto. E quindi praticamente aveva avuto delle esperienze teatrali, in cui tanto, se mi ricordo bene, perché andando avanti col discorso non per essermi persa qualcosa, che ha fatto questa esperienza teatrale quando era piccolo, 15 anni più o meno,
15 anni erano in
aveva la parte di un'avanguardia, di un teatro d'avanguardia, e sì, più o meno adolescente, insomma.
Sì, 15 anni.
Questa compagnia di avanguardia che l'ha fatto recitare con la scatola in testa.
Sì,
Se ho capito bene, poi a un certo punto alla fine lui se l'è tolta, è stato un gesto che è piaciuto tantissimo, perché è stato poi interpretato come
liberatore. Era sia del personaggio che per lui stesso, che ha detto a questo punto voglio, scelgo la mia identità.
Esatto,
invece
dopo ha capito che voleva essere, tra l'altro, selvaggio, ha detto io ok,
sensuale,
sensuale, energetico. We are talking about your experience in theater. I was translating, and I remember the word you used when you said, I want to be sensual, energetic, and okay, and you did, because you did a lot of artistic things, sensual, energetic, like boy dancing, fire dancing. We were discussing in private about your dancing. I saw the photos, beautiful. Really, you have to give you a show. We want one more show. Sooner or later you will do. Quindi niente, praticamente però mi ricordo perché ci siamo arrivati parlando delle fate, tra l'altro, perché piaceva di più The Lost. E insomma, in realtà abbiamo un po' divagato, perché poi parlando di come mai
parlando di Lost, abbiamo parlato di Wraith.
Yeah, because this speech came out from why you prefer Changeling the Lost, but
Lost over
we finally, over the dreaming, but we finally came to the theater and other things. So the thing, and you think you like more the Lost Fairies because of the tradition, because of they are more iconic, more traditional,
more authentic. Yes. That's part of it. I feel like the Lost. I feel like Ethan Skemp was the primary developer designer on Changeling the Lost, and I feel like Ethan got a better sense of fairy lore, traditional fairy lore, and the idea of the fairy as the kind of the preternatural other, that elemental,
with an alien mind and alien laws. Yeah,
exactly. Changeling, from an inside standpoint, without going too much into old history here, the Wraith, the process of designing Wraith was very, very contentious, very controversial in the company, and there were a lot of hard feelings between the people who were involved in the process. And on Changeling, I know that Mark and Sam Chupp and Mark Reinhagen were trying to kind of heal the damage that had been done during Wraith through Changeling. And so I think on some ways Changeling suffered from that, because Changeling the Dreaming suffered from that, because there was this emphasis on
I'm sorry.
we went too dark with Wraith, and not just in terms of the subject matter and the art, but I mean, Wraith brought out a lot of the process of creating Wraith brought out a lot of nastiness of the people involved, myself included. And with Changeling, there was a conscious choice to go for the light rather than for the darkness. And I
To a
think at
lighter
some
tone,
point
yeah.
that we might have overdone it. There was also a problem from a design standpoint with Changeling First Edition, that collectible card games at that time were way outsold role-playing games, and our distributors told us we won't buy Changeling unless it has a collectible card game element, which was stupid. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Totally stupid, but okay.
Especially since the market crashed later that year.
Markets.
The market crashed, but at the end of 1995. But at that time, when Ian and Sam and Mark were designing Changeling, they were under orders, from the distributors to put collectible card games in there, and so they came up with this just completely screwed up magic system that was tied in with collectible cards. And of course, by the time the game actually came out, the card market was declining. It crashed completely at the beginning of 1996, and so we were left also with just an unworkable magic system that had to get fixed in Changeling Second, and fixed more in Changeling 20 and still needs fixing, and so forth.
I played the Changeling, the Dreaming, the 20th edition, and I think that the magic system still need a little bit more of reworking, but I kind of like the theme of Changeling the Dreaming. I think it's my 2 cents. I think it's in a way more adult than Changing the Lost, because Changing the Lost is more easy to it's easier to.
That's what I would say when I say it's more iconical. It's more iconical.
It's more iconical, but it's easy. It's easier to grasp the theme, because you are this half human, half fairy creature, a human changed by the weird, and something is hunting you, and you are trying to live with under this constant menace. While in Changing the Dreaming, you're basically the metaphor.
Trying to inspire the world not to die.
Yeah, but the metaphor is trying not to lose your joie de vivre, which is something way harder to grasp.
Oh, sorry, this is nice. And that's why how the Mage started the game like. Yes, I love them. I want them. I think so. Oh, also, the Changeling the Dreaming original, the manual, the book is rare is a little word to define it rare, because I was searching for it, the original one that I started with at my time when I was young, and I'm still young, when I was younger, and it's unfindable. So you find it at some prices that are incredible, because it's very rare. Also, the first edition of I think it's beautiful. I like the graphic. I like also everything. But so yes, the tarots, also the Mage tarots, they are beautiful. So ok, Filippo, traduci un po' un attimo quello che questa è tua. So 3 ore.
Non mi ricordo da dove siamo partiti.
Allora, da Changeling ci stava raccontando.
Sì, no, ho capito. Fondamentalmente.
Vai, anche tu un po' poverino che.
Sì, allora, fondamentalmente durante lo sviluppo di Wraith ci sono stati degli screzi interni al gruppo, e quindi
ha sofferto anche Changeling di questa cosa.
Esatto, che sono stati poi sistemati in Changing the Lost, ma Changing the Dreaming ha sofferto particolarmente perché Wraith aveva dei toni molto dark, e hanno cercato di smorzare i toni in Dreaming, e inoltre hanno avuto questo diktat dal loro distributore, che all'epoca, in metà anni 90, il mercato
stava 95, 95 you said?
Prima.
No, before 95.
95 started to decline, right?
95. So
you say they crashed.
The market, the American comic and gaming market crashed toward the end of 1995, early
Okay, the end of
1996.
1995.
1995,
Partly because of the collectible card games just collapsed from oversaturation, and partly because Marvel Comics had been bought by a Wall Street raider named Ronald Perlman, who had tried to sell comics like he was selling car parts, and that didn't work. That's a whole long story.
Of course, it didn't work.
Go read up on Ronald Perlman and Marvel Comics. But in any case, because between those two factors, American comic, most of the comic and gaming stores were the same stores, and most of them were independent. Between those two factors, over a third of them went out of business in less than a year in this country. And when that happened, basically everybody wound up in financial trouble. I mean, TSR ended up crashing and being burned, or being sold rather, to Wizards of the Coast. We almost went out of business several times during that period. Several other companies, Pegasus, a number of other, West End, I think, all went out of business during that period because our market just went like this. And Amazon didn't exist. You couldn't order these games online. The idea of ordering role-playing materials online was alien. You could
I was supposed to, I guess.
Online commerce barely existed. I think there were a few things you could buy from whitewolf.com, but I'm not sure that they were available by 1995-96, because shopping cart technology had not been built, had only recently been introduced, and most people didn't trust it. You don't really start seeing things selling online until the early 2000s, and so when the retail establishments went out of business, all of the stock either came back to the companies to be refunded, or it got thrown out, and everybody lost money. Everybody lost money. Even Wizards of the Coast lost money.
Okay.
And that happened in end of 95 into early 96.
Ok, quindi if I can translate just a little because of changeling. Ok, Filippo, dicevi che
Film
praticamente,
Changeling, che praticamente prima del 95 stava andando molto forte i giochi collezionabili di carte, quindi il distributore ha ordinato di inserire in Changeling Dreaming una meccanica simile, che è quella
le
della
carte
magia.
su Changeling.
Esatto. Poi il mercato è collassato, quindi alla fine, tra il fatto che dai fan è stato percepito come molto più...
I have to confess, I would like to have some Changeling cards, just for collection, just fairy cards. I want the fairy cards anyway.
Yeah, they're
Però
hard.
poi...
The sad thing with those is that most of them wound up getting thrown out because they didn't sell, and you couldn't keep them in the warehouse because otherwise they'd be taxed, so they just wound up in landfills. I don't even have
I was joking. I was joking. I like the illustration. I can
That's why they're so...
I'm glad of the illustration. I can. It's sufficient for me.
Yeah.
It's enough for
and
me.
That's...
Quindi, sì, no, sorry, tell me.
Oh, it's also why it's so difficult to get the Changeling books. Is Vampire was out for years, and it sold really, really well. Werewolf, even Mage, sold really, really well. Wraith and Changeling didn't sell very well back in the old days, and the Changeling books, because they were in full color, were very expensive to print.
Yeah.
And it's a pity because I think they're wonderful games. I started after immediately after Vampires. I think I started knowing the White Wolf games, World of Darkness game in general, with Vampire first, and then Changeling, the Dreaming. Immediately, I had that strange PG puka, a half squirrel puka.
Cool.
That's so nice because for our first, as ever when you're young, our first role playing were not so old, not so deep. We're just I don't know. In Italy we say cazzone. Something that you do without thinking too much. So we were all those fairies, nice fairies like the squirrel one, the puka, we are going and glamour the people, and nothing deep. Then when I went on in World of Darkness, now I think there are the best games to express the the deep part of the soul, of a human soul, metaphorically, a human soul or a drama. Also, changeling are lost. Also, as I told before, also the dreaming. It seems funny if you tell the story, but the drama is a drama because you lose your vein, your blood with the glamour. Also, a riot is another. I think is one of the most, maybe the most human human game in the sagas, in all the sagas, because you still are a human. Okay, you're a wraith, but you're not a vampire with I don't know how to explain. You have powers, okay, in every aspect of the. If you are a wraith, if you're a changeling, okay. But somehow, when you are a vampire, you get involved by the politics, by the other affairs. You are linked to your human part, but you have distracted from other. At the end, you can also enjoy your power. You say, okay, I want to be a vampire. I wanted to be a vampire. You can choose to be a werewolf, but you can be proud to be a werewolf. You can in your tribe, but when you are a changeling, or where you are a wraith, you lost yourself without you never choose to be one of them, or you're dead. And even if you choose to die, is not something that you are. For example, if you are a vampire, you can say, I choose to be a vampire because I want immortality. I like the idea. I love the idea, etc., etc. But if you decide to die, is never something that you do willingly, happily. So in a way, I think that changeling and wraith are have in common the most human drama in all the work of darkness, because you see the other that you left behind, and you can reach them, and you have to protect them. You have to finish what you left. Also, if you have a changeling that comes out again into the world, that you escape from the fairylands, and you see maybe other things that took your place, or you see everything has changed, then in an instant, and when you die, you suddenly see yourself behind the dark, behind the world. So I think that maybe the less known here, or the less appreciated maybe from the large public, I think. But I think they are the most beautiful in this way, the most touching. It's a pity that they are not. Maybe they are not powerful like vampire. But if you like feeling, you like emotion, you like living something metaphorically, or you want to explore your soul, and the conditions, and a very dramatic condition. They are the best, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree.
I totally
What do you
agree.
think about it?
Well, and Wraith and Changeling are the World of Darkness games that really gained a lot more popularity after the 90s. Vampire is still popular, but Vampire was at its most popular in the 1990s, and it's a very 1990s game.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolf appeals to the spiritual desire to kill shit.
Yeah.
And lots of people didn't know what to do with Mage, Wraith, and Changeling in the 90s, but the generations since then, and the changes in both the world and in role-playing and the approach to role-playing, have changed to favor Wraith, Changeling, and Mage, and make them much more popular now than they were back in the 90s. And Wraith, especially Jennifer Hartshorn's work on Wraith, was way ahead of its time. It was so ahead of its time that people did not know what to do with it. Even people in the company didn't know what to do with books like, especially Love Beyond Death. Love Beyond Death now looks almost current, aside from the scenarios that at the end of it, that idea of making a game, basing a game source book around love and tragedy, and love, sex, death, romance, romance, tragedy. In 1995, when that 1994, when that came out, people were like, "What the hell is that? Who wants to play that?" Now
it sounds.
I want to kill a dragon. I want to kill a dragon.
Before
Give
indie
me my
games
treasure.
existed.
It sounds really indie.
Yeah, it was Bluebeard's Bride 20 years earlier.
Yeah, I love that game.
30 years. Yeah, it's
I
really,
think there are games that are requires many efforts also nowadays. That's why they are not so popular like vampires. Because if you're a vampire, yeah, play vampire. Okay, I don't want to. I'm not so able to play my feeling of humanity, my love after death. Okay, I can play politics, but you can play if you have a right, if you're a changeling, you don't
Yeah.
have this. You have to leave your drama. You're forced to leave your drama. You have to leave it.
Anyway, Laura, I promise that I will make you play Bluebird's Bride. Remember
Yes.
that. It's a
Bluebeard's
great
Bride
game.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Bluebird's
Bluebeard's
Bride.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go. You go.
Oh,
I
was-
wanted
Fight.
I wanted just to ask to Laura if she knows the game.
Not much.
Okay, so
Not much.
about that,
Oh yeah, talk about it.
I am sending you another link.
Okay.
Ciao Rego
I-
93 nel frattempo. So I'm saying hello to some people
Listening.
coming.
Sending you another link here because I think
Thank
Bluebeard's
you.
Bride is one of the greatest role-playing games I've ever seen, and the creator.
I will
Of,
write all the link when I'm on YouTube at the end of the streaming. I will give all the links, huh?
Yeah, and the creator, the primary creator of it, goes by the name Strix,
Strix. Yeah.
which is Italian, or is based
It's
in Italian
Latin.
anyway.
Ancient Latin.
Ancient, yeah. And they, because it was created by a number of designers, but the work that they did on it, it's absolutely beautiful. I haven't had a chance to play the damn thing yet because I
Really?
haven't. It's sometimes
You wanna play with
difficult to
us?
find- Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on.
Okay. Yeah. Count me
I
in for that. Yeah.
Whenever you want, whenever you
I
want.
played it like 5 times as a
count-
master of ceremonies. So I really
Count me
well,
in.
I
I'm
really
interested.
know
Okay,
the game well in my way.
talk me about this. I don't
game.
I don't know much about this. Don't exclude me. Don't
really?
take me away. Don't take me
Sure.
out.
The link that I shared is my review of the game when it came out.
Whoa. I will read it.
Yeah, that
Sure.
it will tell you what you need to know as far as what it's about and so
Thank
forth. but
you. And then we have a play.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
if you
okay,
want,
we
we
will.
can arrange a live session of the game.
Okay, I think he's
Okay.
busy to do live. So you say okay, yeah?
No, it's
Like,
okay.
you promise? Okay. Wow.
Also,
I've been wanting to
because
play
it's
this
a-
game.
Excited.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a one-shot game, so it just lasts one night.
Yeah,
Okay, would be
It's designed
pleasure.
to last one night.
yeah. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not a chronicle type of game.
What kind of game precisely it is? For the one who don't know the game.
Yeah.
Because
You go?
I don't know very much, but maybe some people don't know the game. Doesn't know the game.
Basically a psychological horror fairy tale in which
Wow,
all of the
I like
players,
it.
the players are all aspects. Going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago with aspects.
About Wraith. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but all the characters are playing the aspects, different aspects within the mind of one person,
One woman.
within the mind
yeah.
of Bluebeard's Bride,
Oh.
as she is discovering what she has gotten herself into by marrying this murderous asshole.
Oh.
Yeah, because you know the fairy tale of Bluebird's Bride, because it's based on that fairy tale. You know the
Yeah.
tale, right? You don't know the tale. Okay. Well, the tale is basically this very beautiful and very poor woman met by chance this very rich man called Bluebird, and he wants to marry her because she's so beautiful and smart and so on. A lot of chauvinism here
Okay.
involved.
The same things
And-
ever. The same things ever.
Yeah, and he brings the wife to his mansion, and he tells her, well, I have to leave, and you can explore the mansion except for one room.
Ah, ma
This-
barba blu.
Barba Blu.
Barba
Ma
Bluebird.
che non avevo capito, I didn't understand. It's barba blu.
Okay,
yeah.
so you know how the story ends.
I didn't recognize the name.
The name, yeah.
Yeah.
In Italian, it's Barba Blu.
It's a very famous tale. Yeah.
And
Okay.
basically in the game you play the various aspects of the wife, and the wife is
So strange.
Yeah, it's very strange, but it's very powerful, and also because the aspects are in a way aspect of a woman from the point of view of a man.
Whoa.
So it's a very powerful game. It touches a lot of topical issues like chauvinism and the role of women in our society. And basically, you go room to room, exploring the mansion, trying to make up your mind if Bluebird is evil or not. And in the end, you have to choose if you want to peek inside the room, the forbidden room, or leave, or open the room.
Very metaphorical.
Yeah.
If you want to the secret room or
like every fairy tales are.
Oh, talking about fairy tales. Ok, just a second. Da dove siamo partiti? Ho perso di Little Fear. Yes. Have any of you tried Little Fears?
Yeah. Well, I know the game, but no. But...
Yep,
Okay.
it's along similar lines.
Ma Little Fears è Piccoli Brividi?
No.
Quello che è stato tradotto è un'altra cosa proprio.
Little Fears
Okay, no, because we have also a book saga that was Piccoli Brividi, Little Chills.
No, it's.
I thought it was the same thing.
No, you're talking about Goosebumps, the books. But Little Fear.
Goosebumps. Oh no,
Goosebumps.
In English.
In Italian, Little Fears. Wait.
Comunque nel frattempo
well,
Wild,
go on. In the meanwhile, I'm checking the Italian translation of the game.
Yeah, it's a long speech. I'm going back where we started. Okay, okay. Fondamentalmente abbiamo detto come mai. Yeah, because we speak too much. Then I lose the start of the speech. And abbiamo praticamente, chiacchierato a lungo di quei giochi del tipo Changeling e soprattutto come mai bello Changeling. Insomma, siamo finiti a parlare del fatto delle carte, appunto, che avevano. Inizialmente c'era stato un disaccordo perché l'editore voleva, comunque andavano di moda i giochi di carte come diceva Filippo, quindi voleva queste carte di Changeling, insomma c'erano diverse controversie, tra cui anche appunto il tema dark, quindi con The Dreaming si era cercato di essere un po' più nella luce, diciamo, andare un po' più verso il tema luminoso, quindi il glamour eccetera. Con The Lost più dark, forse c'è più apprezzato anche da lui per il fatto che sì, è più iconico, tradizionale, quindi comunque ha questi toni molto da leggenda, però dopodiché Filippo stava più che obiettando, facendo notare che effettivamente però è più facile giocarci, tu dicevi giustamente, perché è più facile cogliere il senso quando tu devi fare la fata delle leggende perduta, è molto più, un po' come il vampiro, un po' più conosciuta proprio come immaginario, credo che tu intendessi.
No, che Changing the Lost tu giochi delle persone che sono braccate, quindi è anche
più facile, sì. Ecco, è vero, poi siamo arrivati a dire da lì
di azione, invece in Changing the Dreaming no, non hai azione.
Esatto, devi praticamente sopravvivere cercando di ispirare il glamour che ti fa sopravvivere, che ti fa vivere. Da lì siamo arrivati a parlare del fatto che almeno io ho dato la mia opinione, ho detto secondo me è un peccato che qui in Italia, comunque in generale, i giochi di Changeling, Wright, giochi come questi sono meno mainstream, meno conosciuti. Adesso cominciano ad essere più conosciuti, però rispetto a vampiri, werewolf eccetera sono molto meno conosciuti, ma secondo me anche perché sono i più umani, i più toccanti, perché quando tu giochi un vampiro hai comunque l'azione. A suo tempo nacque pure un pochino per dare al gioco dark un po' di azione, come era quello dei giochi supereroistici, no? C'è un po' questa origine. Se non sei capace di giocarti per esempio il dramma, come tanti non sono capaci di giocare, soprattutto proprio tanti non sono capaci di giocare il dramma del vampiro che quando muore comunque rimane attaccato all'umanità, ai sentimenti umani, alla fine dice vabbè, gioco la politica, tutto sommato hai tutto un range di cose da fare, politica, territorio eccetera, e te la sfanghi. Con Werewolf, ok, sei una tribù, puoi combattere le altre tribù, c'hai poteri, di solito sono anche abbastanza fieri della loro, tra virgolette, condanna, e te lo puoi vivere anche bene, ma anche un vampiro può anche essere orgoglioso. Poi quello che diciamo nella live, ti ricordi Fili? La nostra live. che puoi anche essere orgoglioso di essere un vampiro felice, quindi l'hai scelto magari, ti hanno offerto l'immortalità, tu sei andato e sì e vai e sei un vampiro felice, sei un licantropo fiero, ma non puoi essere un morto fiero, non puoi essere un morto felice, anche se scegli di morire non sarà mai una cosa felice, sei il più umano, sei nella condizione più umana anche con tutti i tuoi poteri. Il tuo dramma è molto più umano perché vedi i tuoi cari rimasti dall'altra parte, non hai potuto scegliere, sei morto. 90% ti hanno ammazzato, comunque sei morto male. Il changeling torna e magari tutto il mondo gli è cambiato, è stato rapito. Cioè, quindi all'improvviso torni e hanno preso il tuo posto, magari creature che non sono te, i tuoi cari non ci sono più. È un dramma molto più umano da vivere, richiede più sforzo e secondo me sono molto più belli da questo punto di vista, però meno appunto più impegnativi. Forse ecco qua eravamo arrivati, poi aspetta, we're on topic of the other. We have a question. If you're on the topic of other, no? Werewolf games.
Primetime
What do you think of
Adventures.
Okay, we were, yeah, we were over just a little the version from the White Wolf games. What do you think about Primetime Adventures? If you know Primetime, if you
I'm
played,
not familiar with them.
I'm not familiar
Yeah.
too.
You're
I'm
not?
not familiar with them.
No, okay, Filippo he is.
Well, yeah, I am, but
We don't care about your opinion,
who
Filippo.
cares?
Okay,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I care.
No, okay, he cares.
Philip
Say
is
thanks.
awesome.
Say thanks because Philip is
Philip is awesome.
Phil is a gentleman. So what?
But,
Okay.
Oh, you want us to speak about Primetime Adventures?
Yeah, go
What?
for it.
Well,
just a little piece, just to know about it.
Well, Primetime Adventures was, well, I think it was very important in the, in inspiring other indie game, because, well, he has this very open-ended approach to the game, and well, it was a game basically designed to simulating TV series.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, well. Every player has one character, and one player has the role of the director.
Forse ho
well,
capito.
During the first session, you have to assign the character to this chart. And for instance, in episode 1, one of the character is more important, while in episode 2, another character is.
You've been an actor, so maybe you could like it.
Well, yeah, but it's not different from the point of view. Connecting to other RPGs. Well, you're not playing the character. You are
Playing series.
Yeah, your character is just another character from any other RPGs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think it's
it
my
was.
genre.
I think the most iconic thing about the game is this system called fun letters, and when a player says something cool, you can award the player with a fan letter token. And you can spend a token to increase your chance with the dice or the cards. Now I don't remember because the game system changed from the first edition to the second edition. But it was the first time that this mechanic was introduced in an RPG.
Talking about mechanics, because it's starting to be late for him, because it was too kind, and I don't want to waste your time anymore, because I don't want to tire you. So, but I have a question that everybody wants to know here, because you said, if I remember, if I don't go wrong, that sometimes about systems. Okay, someone said that you prefer, for example, playing Mage. You prefer other systems in respect to the D20 or the storytelling. Faith, maybe, could be. I heard that you love playing with Faith system. What is your, what are, in your opinion, the thing that should be increased or adjusted in the storytelling system, and why you prefer sometimes other system? What are what's your favorite and why? For example,
Well, I think the system ultimately the system works best for who. a system is there to facilitate what the players want and need. So some people really, really want or need a very tactical system, a very mechanical system, one that determines everything with little chance for argument. Some people prefer to have as little system as possible. It just helps, determine really important tasks and leaves everything up to improvisation. I personally, because my background is in improvisational theater, I like to have to work with as few rules as possible. I know that's ironic considering that I've written all of these huge rule books.
Oh well, it's a
Because
choice.
I know that
It's a choice.
yeah, well, it's one of the things that I've learned in being a game designer is to give people the structure to do the things
Yes.
that they wanted to do, but to make it so that they don't have to use it. Which is why
Tell
one
it,
of the
tell it, tell it all the world. Tell to all the world here in Italy. Listen to him. Okay, he's right.
Yeah,
He's the
because,
creator,
well,
and you have to shut up.
the
That's not because he's close a large quantity of quarreling and discussions about it.
yeah, well,
Okay,
the sad thing is that people tend to like consider the words written in the book like written in
the
stone.
Bible, the
Yeah.
Bible.
oh
Okay,
no,
I
it's not a
agree. I
Bible.
agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
we know.
once. No, just once I agreed with one friend of mine that said, okay, I don't like very much. He said, when you build a system and then some rules, you give the rules, and then said, okay, if you want to follow the rule, do it, or not, you can also
Ignore them.
ignore them.
Mhm.
Okay, it says, okay, I like freedom. But if you construct rules or establish a system, maybe I can choose, but you shouldn't tell me don't use it. Okay, I can agree with this. Maybe I'm not so extreme, but I thank you. Thank you very much for telling us that the plot, the meta plot, the rule, the system is not the Bible, because when you are
Yeah.
playing with your friends, you have to enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's one of the and I get
Okay.
into this in Mage Made Easy, because Mage
Yeah.
Made Easy is a collection of modular suggestions that says if you want to play Mage, I'm all in favor of people playing Mage, but Mage is really big and complicated, and so you can take out this, you can take out this, you can take out this, maybe leave this, maybe take this out. If you want an option, here's an option. And if you need the rules, then you can put them back in, but you don't have to start out your game with, I don't have a copy of it right in front of me, but you don't need
Yeah,
to
I know.
start out a Mage game with everybody memorizing this fucking 700 page
Yeah,
book.
I did.
I appreciate that.
No.
But I,
I would like it. I would like it. No, that's what the same thing I think about the. Don't kill me. Expansions, because I always say, but it's something that I said since D&D, AD&D expansions, the books. Okay, I love the books. Okay, I love some books. Some expansions are very good. Like, for example, I love Technology Reloaded. I loved some clan books or tradition books. Okay, they're beautiful. But sometimes when you, for example, you see some people ruin themselves economically because they have to buy absolutely
Yeah.
the expansion, or if not, they don't feel authorized to play something. And I saw myself, friends of mine,
Yeah, it's very
fighting each other when it happened. I swear it happened. Fighting each other because one of my friends chose a sort of for a LARP, a costume, a kind of costume, and the other came and said it's not right because in the book of the Son of Set, they said that the lineage were not there, so you can dress like this because it's not. My master had just arranged an adventure where he imagined a lineage of blood that came in Louisiana and did something else. Okay, what's the problem in, for example, in creating something, if you want, without feeling the due, to be authorized from the authors? Okay, that's, I think there are artistic things that you have to enjoy. You have to take because you like them, or
Yeah.
not not because you have a status, not for status, and it's a matter of status. It became a matter of status. I don't know if it's there is like this. I don't know the situation there. Here,
It depends. It depends on who. I mean, it's I when I first got into gaming, I got the Monster Manual for Christmas. But at that point there were only 3 D&D books and some supplements out. But I will get to that in just a second. Actually, for Andrea's question there, Mage Made Easy, $10 on
the Storyteller Vault, right?
Storyteller's Vault. That I have a whole book about that. That's exactly what Mage Made Easy is about.
Yeah, it's really great because it doesn't add any rule, but it just tells you, well, do whatever you want. If you don't like how paradox works, you can change it. If you don't like how the sphere system, you can use the paradigms over the sphere, but it doesn't add any rule, right?
Yeah, it gives an option for the whole coincidental, vulgar without witnesses, vulgar
with a different system.
That whole idea has led to probably more arguments than anything else in the history of Mage. So I just changed it to here. You can use this one instead. It doesn't change the rules, the dice rules.
We found some bugs in the system of the paradox. We found some bugs. Little bugs in the paradox system instead that need to be okay. I've got some. Andrea is Unchained tonight. He wants to ask you about talking about rules. Okay, first I translate just a little for the non-English people. Ok, praticamente abbiamo chiesto parlando appunto di sistemi, si dice che anche tu stesso preferisca altri sistemi per giocare a Mage, per esempio Fate, se non mi sbaglio, no? Si era detto, qualcuno ha detto Fate, e giustamente ha detto una cosa sacrosanta, che noi diciamo sempre, che sì, io sono d'accordo che poi l'aveva detto in una live, vabbè, senza fare nomi, un amico aveva detto, vabbè, quando tu scrivi un manuale e ci fai le regole, il sistema, e poi dici, ok, se le vuoi usare le regole, usale, se no, rimango sconvolto. Giustamente da un lato essere troppo estremi, giustamente se tu crei un gioco forse arrivare a quell'estremo è un po' troppo, perché comunque segui insomma il gioco è stato strutturato in un certo modo per funzionare, ma il problema solito dell'essere legati sia al plot che alle regole del gioco dato, come se bisognasse essere autorizzati dall'editore per potersi creare poi un sistema che funziona meglio, cosa che lui ama fare. Dice, lui fondamentalmente cerca di dare al giocatore quello che può dargli l'esperienza migliore. Veramente, se un giocatore si sente che un sistema si adegua meglio, lui personalmente preferisce meno regole possibili, ecco per cosa certi sistemi, e un'esperienza più narrativa e quindi meno regole possibili, insomma una cosa un po' come piace a me, ecco, con delle regole sì, però non troppe, insomma una via di mezzo. E quindi insomma stavamo parlando del problema della gente che si fa le guerre sui plot, sulle regole, quindi sembra che bisogna essere per forza autorizzati a usare un certo sistema, oppure che viene dato quello e quindi non si può variare, non si può. E ha citato giustamente Mage Made Easy, che è appunto la sua guida, diciamo, dove dà consigli più che altro su come avere un'esperienza per fissare, poi credo alcuni anche dei bug che ci possono essere, o comunque delle controversie che ci sono, cercando sempre appunto di consigliare di fare quello che poi è quello che serve a dare l'esperienza migliore, perché poi quando uno è dentro casa sua con i suoi amici a giocare, dice già uno non si può imparare giustamente, dice sembra strano, ho detto da me che ho fatto un manuale grosso così di regole, ok, però è quello che poi è, insomma, l'esperienza deve essere al meglio possibile. Abbiamo Andrea Garrone that is asking you a lot of things, so prepare yourself.
A very long question.
Okay.
A very long question. So first part, talking about rules, I have to ask something. Since many Mage players have a very different idea about rules and the game seems hard to grasp, how would you streamline it for new occasional players?
Also, Mage Made Easy. That's specifically the thing that got me to write. I'd been meaning to do Mage Made Easy for a while, but the thing that finally inspired me to actually write it was my former housemate Zach, who was getting ready to run a Mage game for some people who'd never played Mage. And he asked me for suggestions, and I started telling him stuff, and I said, I should just fucking write this down. People always have this question. A month and a half later, the book was
really
out.
appreciate it.
I mean, that's literally what the book is for, is because I love the ideas in Mage, obviously. I'd have to. But I also understand that. I mean, it's overwhelming even for me. That's one of the many reasons that I stepped down last fall, is just because keeping track of all that stuff was overwhelming
Oh,
me, and I helped
i-
create it. Uh,
if you think, Phil, if you think that it's 1 year now,
mhm,
almost 1 year that I started to with my step by step of
mhm.
Mage, 1 year, and I am a half of the book. Right now
Yeah,
at the
it'll do that.
Umbra, Spirits of Umbra, you can imagine. I know.
Good.
That's why I thank you very
Oh,
much.
can I ask a question
Sure.
about your
Aspetta,
approach?
Filippo, Andrea. Non
Okay.
ha finito. No, Andrea is not finished. Filippo wants to ask you
Okay,
something, but
but
Andrea,
yes,
the
but
second part of the
and after
question.
that, please, yes. So go ahead.
Okay.
Second part,
Second part
because
of
you
the
know
question.
he kills me because I think he prepared this question all the week, something like this. Andrea, ti sto prendendo un po' in giro. Allora, second part is also many people, including other players of the group, had trouble with sphere requirements. It
Mhm.
would be okay to say that these are determined only by intentions and not by what you interact with, and this is similar to a
Mhm.
question that you wanted to do, Filippo, ricordi? For
Okay.
the sphere, the mechanical of the spheres. La meccanica
Okay.
delle sfere, ti ricordi?
Yeah,
Mamma?
well, I think that by now all this topic is pointless because, well,
We
in the end
specify
you
this
can do
also, huh?
you do just what the group think is best, right?
Mhm.
Probably
I
the hardest part is to like find a consensus. Sorry for the pun. Inside the group of the players.
Actually, I addressed the issue of life of life and mind, or altering a mental state or emotional state with chemistry, is actually addressed in not Mage Made Easy. How do you do that? In
How do you do
the
that?
uncanny influence section
Yes,
of how do
because
you do that?
there was a
Which
controversial with the
So,
sphere
oh
that
yeah,
someone said
some people
that
feel
maybe
like it's yeah.
yeah, because I love the sphere system because about there were a discussion between me and Filippo
yeah, a little
yesterday
a
about the
little
spheres.
ascension war between me and Laura.
Yeah, so something like this. Yeah, something
Mage
like
is
this.
good for that.
Because I told that okay, you have to remember, for example, you have to remind that you are a human. So you at some point, some certain point that you some when which you grew up with. Okay, like my rain is coming from the up
Mhm.
to down, and so maybe the spheres can be conducted to. The book itself says that spheres are just a convention for us to indicate the parts of the reality we are used to know. Okay,
Mhm.
we used to know to practice with them. Okay, but it's not reality is fluid for a mage, and that Filippo rightly, he was right in a way. He objected, but in games
well,
like
I
Hearts Magic, for example, there
well
are
I
the
said
words. Okay, tell
yeah,
what
with
were
my
your question.
point of view.
No
Well,
problem.
I just said that well from my point of view,
He's an
uh,
anarch. He's an anarch.
I'm a rebel.
Go ahead.
I'm a rebel. From my point of view, well, the sphere system, why, in a way, contradicts the main theme of Mage, because Mage, the game, says that reality is subjective
Mhm.
And fluid. And
and fluid,
fluid.
and reality is shaped by the well, the sum of the human minds, while the spheres seem pretty
Close
yeah,
reality
well,
into
pretty
sections
rigid in
to
a way. uh,
define the
for
reality.
instance, let's say that I think that time is not separated from space, but
Mhm.
it just
Like in a modern
exists
science, like in modern
like in modern
science.
science. uh, Time is not separated from space, and it only exists a time-space continuum. But the sphere system tells me that time is a
And
different thing
space.
from space, because you need correspondence to
And
well,
time
yeah,
to operate in
to do
correspondence and
trick
for
with space,
spaces.
and you need time to do trick with time.
Yeah, his
Or for
question was
instance,
interesting because I said, and if I am convinced that
or
time and space
another example, I think
Mhm.
that the mind doesn't exist, and the mind is just the sum of
is life, because you heard of
electric stimuli.
Mhm.
But the sphere system tells
tells
me
that
that you
it's
need
mind
mind and not forces to
or life.
influence other, or life to influence other. While,
there
for
effects?
instance, another mage think that minds exist, or you're just a mind inside a simulation. While me as a mage, I think that my mind is just electricity. But
So how you determine how to operate
yeah,
if you got I love the sphere
that's
system.
why I prefer paradigm over the sphere.
Actually, it's not so wrong. Actually, it's not so wrong. Because what do you think about it? What do you think about it? And then we change argument. And for Andrea, no, because I don't want you to talk with Mage all the time. But and Andrea said, in fact, so for example, it's something similar. For example, if you have a progenitor and want to cause fear, you should use mind and not life, only because you do it with a drug. With X on the brain, it's something similar. How to manage this contradiction sometimes between the game saying that the reality is what you are convinced that is, and the system that gives you spheres that give you some section of the reality that are established. Okay, I say there are conventions, but if you think about what Filippo said, okay, but if I'm convinced that life, influence your mind, but your mind is not existing as a mind. You're an impulse. So I'm conditioning. But the games tell you, okay, if you want to do a mind magic, use mind. But no, I'm convinced that mind it doesn't exist. Your life forces. How can I?
Also, because the entire concept of life, it's very human, because life doesn't exist per se. It's defined by humans. So if I wanted to create a virus using magic, I had to use life or matter, because, well, a virus is not a living being, but it acts like a living being. So it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
And that's why when I play Mage, I prefer to prioritize the paradigm and the focus over the spheres.
That's one of the reasons why I emphasized paradigm. Well, why I changed the way the focus rules in Mage 20 to emphasize belief, activity, practice, and tools,
and then
instruments,
the tools, the
and even making it to the point where an instrument does not have to be a physical thing. You don't have to use your cell phone as an instrument. You can use gestures or words or song as an instrument, or your mind as an instrument.
Yes.
But the idea being that in order for you to use magic, you have to believe you can, because ultimately that's where it all comes from. You have to believe you can do this. You have to do something in order to bring your belief into activity, and in the course of you doing activity, what sort of activity do you do? The spheres, when Mage was first created, the spheres were come up with. I think it was Travis Williams and Andrew Greenberg, I think, came up with the spheres rules in about a week, maybe.
And it was a great system. I love it. I don't want to object the system, but sometimes it's controversial.
It's well, yeah, and it took a while to get it even to the state that it's in. But ultimately, and this goes back to a question you asked a little while ago, I feel, and I am not the determiner of how everybody else runs a game, when I am gaming, I want the rules that will help me and my friends tell the story that we want to tell.
Oh yeah,
that's correct.
Different people.
That's the first thing. Okay, that's the first thing.
And some people need a really rigid framework, like D&D or Pathfinder need a really rigid framework to help them tell those stories. Because one of the things I know from 41 years of gaming and from my theater training and improvisational the improvisational theater that I've done is that not everybody has that toolkit. Not everybody has the imagination to just be able to make up whatever the hell off the top of their head, and even fewer people can get together in a group where they'll all agree on the same idea of how you do that.
That's why there's a essential war. The essential war is this.
Yeah, exactly.
The essential war is real.
And I will win. I will win against you, Filippo.
No, someone says controlling. For gaming.
Someone says this. Felipe.
Controlling, I cannot.
Right.
Yeah, but the things now.
One Google electric pulses.
No, this is true. But I want to specify that the thing that we are Filippo was objecting was that yes, it's easier to control with you say you have a mind sphere, the control instead of using forces on 1 million and 1,000 millions and pulses. Okay, but if I'm not convinced that that mind.
Yeah, but
what is mind? If I don't
what's a mind?
recognize a mind, what's a mind?
Define the mind.
Define the mind.
Define
That's right.
life. Define matter. Define forces.
And I think it's fascinating because it could be another war, another opinion, and a sense in war, war argument. So I want to ask you something. Because I know it's late, so I don't want to miss this question for you because I love you as a writer also.
Thank you.
I'm reading about among the others. I'm reading Tales of Music Weirdness. Very funny, so funny, and I want to. Yeah, I want to talk a little about your novels, because you have new works on fire. I know. You surprised me with this this new Valhalla that I didn't know. You didn't tell me about it. And so I would like to know a little of what's about the kind of stories. But also, if you have a novel that you have a lot of collection, written in the libraries, Tale of Music Weirdness, others, a lot. A lot. Is there a novel that you have particularly in your heart for some reason, and on the other side, a novel that if you now could come back in time, you would not write again? First, the dearest one. First,
any
the
regrets?
One and why?
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, is there a novel that I wish that I had written or wish that I could write that I haven't written yet, and then something that I wrote that I wish I hadn't?
Okay. Also, and my first question was if you have a novel in your particularly in your heart, among the ones you wrote, and why? If you have a reason, maybe it's dear for some reason, or you like very particularly, and why? And also, if you want a novel that you would like to write, and on the other side, a novel that you wouldn't write anymore, if you could, for example.
Well, so far I've only finished one novel, which is funny for somebody who's been writing for as long as I have. But it took me a while to get to. I have a lot of stories in my head, but it took me a while to finally be able to get from the beginning of one of those long stories to the end of it and tell it the way that I wanted to. I tried writing many different novels, and they just kind of crashed and burned. Sooner or later, I lost interest in them, or I realized they weren't working. Red Shoes is Red Shoes is the one that I finished, and now that I have finished it, I feel much more confident.
Give us some spoilers. Give us some spoilers.
So
I have the spoiler, but I don't. I can tell this. I want it's mine. You won't have a spoiler from me.
Or give us an elevator pitch.
Okay. Well, the elevator pitch is simple. A young dancer descends into her home city's underworld after the death of one of her friends, and the things that she discovers there will change her, and not always in good ways. She learns a lot about herself in the course. Obviously, I mean that's what a story is about. I think, somebody learning something about themselves. Otherwise, it's just nothing's happening.
I would definitely buy it.
Thank you.
I will do.
Thank you. It's a sequel in a lot of ways to the webcomic that Brian Simon and I did back about 12 years ago called Arpeggio. Which was about Arpeggio was about a clueless teenage bard who was inspired by a discussion that my friend S.J. Tucker and I had many years ago about what we were like as teenagers, and being those kind of being too creative for our own good, and being kind of creative outsiders in high school, and what it was like, to have that kind of vision and that kind of talent that wanted to be expressed, and you really weren't quite sure what you were going to do with it.
I saw that.
And that's what Arpeggio was about. The main character was sort of a cross between kind of my teenage girl aspect, and Suj, Suge's, experiences and my own experiences and so forth, kind of channeled through this, poor person with a dysfunctional home life and a tremendous amount of paranormal talent that she's not aware she possesses, but when she puts it into action around a bunch of other people who also have paranormal talents they don't realize, it starts expressing things that all of them had repressed and that none of them are terribly comfortable with, but now they have to deal with. So that was Arpeggio. Red Shoes takes place about 5 years later with one of the other characters.
Oh, okay. So it's a spin-off. It's a
kind of spin-off. Exactly. It's a spin-off.
And I saw this. I saw that comic. I saw that comic. I find it fascinating. But it reminds it make me think about the orphans. I don't know why they made the orphan mages.
Exactly.
Immediately, I thought about the orphans.
Yeah.
Because in my last campaign, before the actual now, I was an orphan. So immediately I wrote about this comic, and I recognized myself into I was not a teen in the story, but the parallel is I think is a great comic for the orphan ones that
when I play Mage, I really like when all the characters are orphans. And also to play the game without the tradition or the technocracy.
I enjoy it.
And just to explore have the ability to change the reality according to what you believe is like.
I enjoyed both.
I really like.
I enjoyed both.
Both of the approaches. Yeah, it's fair, and I really like when RPGs when you're play a teenager. I don't know why, but. Probably my favorite RPG is Monster Hearts.
Yes, I love Monster Hearts.
Oh, okay.
I love Monster Hearts. Yes.
Okay, you can discuss because
probably
it's a lover.
It's my favorite.
It's a Monster
my favorite
Hearts.
RPG.
It made me discover this game, and I still have to play it.
Yeah, you still have to play it.
They are talking a lot about Monster Hearts.
But you have to, Laura.
Yeah, you have to.
You love it.
It's mind blowing, in a way.
Yeah, they are talking about also in a recent discussion about, in particular, the discussion was about LGBT games or something, and someone told that Monster Hearts was a metaphorical, very very good in a metaphorical way to indicate the sexual discoveries and the difference.
To address a lot of typical situation and experience teenage live.
Comunque Red Shoes ha detto Phil che Red Shoes che è il suo ultimo lavoro di cui ho uno spoiler perché ho avuto l'anteprima, non ve la dico e non ve la do, e che I'm a little proud to have a spoiler, to have a ok.
But yes, Philippe, you're absolutely right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry too.
Oh,
okay.
I was just telling Philippe, yes, exactly. It's a fantastic game.
Now you talk about Montserrat. Just a second, because I know I lose in the long speech, so I have an age. I'm aged too, and so it's late also for me, and my nurse is on a freeway. No, my nurse has a free day today, so I have to follow the line. No, a parte scherzi, ha detto che praticamente l'ultimo lavoro Red Shoes, stavamo chiedendo qual era la sua storia preferita, se aveva una storia preferita particolarmente che ha scritto, se ce n'è una che vorrebbe scrivere che ancora non ha scritto, e se ce n'è una che invece non riscriverebbe più. Siamo finiti a parlare dell'ultimo lavoro che è Red Shoes, e praticamente ci raccontava che è una sorta di seguito, avviene 5 anni dopo una storia che è in un fumetto, tra l'altro che io trovo carino perché gioca l'orfano Mage, secondo me gli deve dare un'occhiata, poi vi daremo il nome. È un fumetto che appunto parla di questi gruppo di adolescenti, diciamo.
Arpeggio, giusto?
Arpeggio, sì. Praticamente io l'ho visto, sono andata a guardare subito quando facevo l'orfana, e sono in questo appartamento insieme, sono tutti ragazzi che scoprono di avere tutti dotati di poteri paranormali, che però non hanno nessuno che gli spiega come usarli, quindi comunque succedono, scoprono da soli e siamo finiti da lì a parlare di questo tipo di situazioni, diciamo anche in gioco, parlando di giochi che ricordano Filippo ha detto a me piace molto il gioco degli orfani apposta per questo, e poi hanno citato Monster Hearts, che appunto è un'altra sorta di gioco teen in cui si scopre di avere questi poteri paranormali, e anche in un certo
Sì,
senso è
fondamentalmente
metaforico in questo senso.
sei una creatura soprannaturale, solo che ogni creatura
Okay,
soprannaturale
in
è
English you
metaforica.
can discuss, okay,
Okay, do you
talks about
want
Monster
me
Hearts, you.
to talk about Monster Hearts?
Yeah.
No, Phil, you know Monster Hearts. You
Yeah,
are the
well,
Oh
guest.
yeah,
I
I love
played it
Monster Hearts.
several times,
You
probably
play?
like 10 times. I played it 10 times probably. And well, it's a game where your character is a teenager and you go to high school and you have to deal with a normal teenage life with all the lows and downs of a teenager, first love and stuff like that. The catch is you're also a monster. So at the beginning of the game, you have to choose your monster personality. So you can be a werewolf, a witch, like
A
someone
vampire.
who had made vampire, someone who had made a deal with a demon, or like a ghoul, a changeling, which is called the Fae, and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is that every skin, because they are called skins, is metaphorical. So, for instance, if you're playing the werewolf,
I guess you were the werewolf.
yeah, I
Really?
played the werewolf.
Yeah?
I played the werewolf.
Obviously. Well, the metaphor is for violence you cannot control and the fallout of violence. If you're playing the witch, the metaphor there is that you're living an injustice and you have the tool to make things right, but you have to discover what rights really means. And if you play the vampire, the main theme is emotion, because you're very detached from humans, and for you it's really hard to connect with emotions. If you're playing like the mortal, you address topic like the first love and what it's like to be obsessed with somebody and stuff like that. And the game has addresses in a very good designed way, well designed way, the LGBTQI plus topic, because the game is powered by the apocalypse, so it's played by moves. When in the fiction your character does something that is covered by a move, you roll two dice, and the dice tell you how your move turns out. And there is this move, which is to turn somebody on, which basically you are seducing somebody, but not always you're aware of that. And you can activate this move on everybody, even if you're not gay, or if you're not straight, or if you're straight, you can turn another male. How can I say that? Someone who identifies himself as a male on, and the result of this rule is that you have no control over your sexuality, and that's why it's interesting and scary.
I never have control of my sexuality. What's the problem? Who has control of his sexuality?
Billy
I
Graham
But it's
Jr.
something that you
does it.
discover. It's something that you discover during that age, and that's why teenage stories
Yeah,
are
I
really
know.
powerful in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's your
I
experience
absolutely
with this
agree.
game?
Yeah,
What's
well,
your experience? Because you were so enthusiastic.
Tell us about
Tell
your
us
experience
your
with Monster
adventure with
Hearts.
this game.
Oh, it's the same thing. My friend Kate Bullock turned me onto it, I guess, 5-6 years ago. Yes, I guess it would have been about 6 years ago, shortly after it came out. She mentioned it, and I'm like, this sounds really cool. And
Yeah.
so, I bought it at that time. It was just a downloadable PDF. I don't think even the first edition rulebook had come out, and I was blown away by the simplicity of the system and the complexity of the themes. And so it's like, I want to play this. So Kate and I played this
Very
along
modern
with,
for the times. Very modern for the times.
yeah, exactly. That's one of, I was interested in indie gaming before that, but that was the game that really got me fascinated by the current indie scene. Both that and some of Avery, the designer Avery Alder, some of Avery's other games that were completely throwing out the militaristic war game paradigm of conventional RPGs and getting more into human psychology and social interactions and sexuality.
It's something that she calls queer games.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, God, I wanted to do something like this so much back in the 90s, and there's no way you could sell it.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing it now, and there it is, and it's wonderful. And so, I'm all about it. And that got me interested in other Powered by the Apocalypse games, including Bluebeard's Bride, which is
and
also
for instance,
Powered by the
another title,
or Velvet Glove, or Night Witches,
and Night Witches is cool.
The idea of stripping a system down to the bare essentials and making it all about the thematic interactions and the emotional attachment rather than about what chart is on what page. I was like, fuck, that's the way I like to game. To go back to your earlier question, yeah. I understand that there are lots of people who game because they want to kill shit. For that, I do video games. There are the people who want to do the strategic element.
No, video games also are starting to involve emotions and other things.
Yeah, yeah. For instance,
the modern ones. Yeah.
Life is Strange is a great game.
Anyway, it's much more fighting than other.
Yeah,
right in this.
But I wanted to, with like Mage 20, I wanted to give people a deep toolkit with a lot of options that they don't have to actually use many or any of them. And with Mage Made Easy, I just said, okay, here's your toolkit for going through the toolkit and picking out just the hammer and just the screwdriver you want to use, instead of having to feel like you have to utilize this entire book. Because ultimately, for me, and I realize not everybody games like me, for me, what I love is the emotional intensity, the vicarious adventure of bringing out an aspect of myself that I can't be in real life.
Yes.
I almost always play female characters.
It's hard. Also,
I'm a dude. Physically, I'm a dude. But I have, as they say, very in touch with your feminine side. I wouldn't identify as trans, but I would identify these days as genderqueer. That wasn't even a term when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a term when I was a young adult. The term, I don't think, even existed 10 years ago, and I'm 55.
Oh, yeah, I understand you, because I was telling to Filippo times ago, speaking about this kind of games. Oh, by the way, don't care about me, because my familiar came back, so it's another time to come here with us.
Okay.
But oh my God. Oh dear, poor dear. I love him, but I can risk it. It can destroy my connection.
To unplug the computer.
I'm listening to you, even if you see me doing something like this. But I agree.
I can totally relate.
Thank you. I agree with you, because that's the thing that I was discussing about this game with Filippo, and I said to him a time ago that I always been in touch with my male part, for example, but not only with my male part, also other parts of myself, of me, the dark part, the sexual part that sometimes I don't express very much at periods. I go in periods, and so those kind of games that let you play what you don't, you don't are. You are, but you have inside other parts of yourself, because I think every male has a female part inside. We are the Tao, like a Tao. The force of the universe are male and are connected. So I think everybody's a spark, a male spark or a female spark inside. And in spite of
gender, and lots of genders in between the binaries. I mean, again, this was something
if you define yourself straight, for example, I don't like this term anyway, because I don't like straight and deviant. Well, what meaning? No, I like we say. No, I don't like this term, but anyway, it's English. I think is the term in English. Just this. We say we used to say in Italian most hetero to say I like other, sex or not. Anyway, just dear, not now. Okay.
And then there's the cat
He hit
sexuality.
paradox. I can do much because he hit paradox. I need him. So
My Ginger's cat.
okay, thank you. So that kind of games are very now are on trend. They are exploring. It seems that there is a sort of development about games that treats those themes, those kind of themes. There's a lot of enthusiasm for that kind of game now because they're very modern. And so, okay, coming back to, oh my God, I made it. Thank you. It's so, it's incredible. It's so fast. Sorry, dear. Okay, please, sorry. This, the direct, say, del bello della diretta, the beauty of the direct, we say something like this in Italy. Okay, coming back to your novels just a little, because you didn't tell us about your favorite novel. The novel you wouldn't write again if you could.
Okay, well,
but I prefer the dearest one.
Right now, my favorite novel is the one I have written.
Okay,
I do love it.
It's the same. It's the same.
But it would be Red Shoes. My favorite book of all the things that I've worked on so far. Well, I guess there isn't just one. Power Chords would be one. The Cult of Ecstasy First Edition tradition.
Yeah. Talk about the Cult of Ecstasy. I am a cultist. I'm a cultist now.
Yay.
I'm playing a cultist. I love it.
Funny thing about, it's a long story, and I don't want to like burn everybody's night, by telling it. But the short version.
Tell us. We don't bore. We are enthusiastic to hear the stories.
Remember, I was saying about an hour ago. I was saying how I was a really, really repressed kid. Yeah. And then when I got to college, I was just like, my answer is always going to say yes. If I want to make out with this person and this person is interested, I'm going to do it. If this person offers me, a job,
I had a similar period. I feel you.
That's how I started modeling. I was working in the Photoshop, and somebody came. One of the art instructors came in, and he was cursing because the model hadn't shown up at the class, and he didn't have a model. I was like, "What do you need?" And he says, "I just need somebody to get up there and take off their clothes and stand there." I said, "I'll be there in an hour." And be there in an hour. And then I'm like, "Oh fuck! What did I just do?" But
I understand very well what you're saying. Very well what you're saying.
That was totally my attitude in my late teens and early 20s. And then I got married and I had student loans to pay back, and we were living in that shitty neighborhood, and we were poor. And so I just kind of was forcing myself further and further into this little box. And then when I got to White Wolf, it was like, oh my God, I suddenly have money. I have a great job. I have people that I love everywhere. And I went clubbing like every weekend and so forth. And then I got involved in a monogamous relationship. I am polyamorous by nature, and I got involved in a long-term monogamous relationship.
I think that everybody is.
I agree.
Quite agree.
But
we are like the animals. Sometimes it's a nature for you. You're polygamist, or you can be monogamous. Like some birds or some other animals. Everybody with his nature. Anyway, but I understand you.
By a combination of that relationship and my relationship with White Wolf, I began kind of putting myself into another box.
Yeah.
And at the point where initially I had hired somebody else to write the Cult of Ecstasy tradition book, and that person choked up a hairball on it, so I ended up having to write the book myself in 2.5 weeks. And I woke up the morning that I realized that I was going to have to write the book from scratch. I woke up with the words, I'm scared in my head. And so I just sat down and I started typing it. And so in the course of that book, I vicariously assumed, my female aspect, and said, if I could throw everything in my life away. I said, but if I could,
sex, drug, and rock and roll.
Never been much for the drugs part, but then again, I couldn't have. I also couldn't have written Cult of Ecstasy if I hadn't done hallucinogens. So
just try LSD
no, I'm
once.
not for the drug part. I'm not for the drug part too, but it is funny to play it in a game. especially when you use
yeah.
a lot of time and you're always confused around time.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I can't say I haven't done drugs. I have, and fortunately I didn't like them enough to do them a lot, but I can at least write intelligently about what it's like to trip on acid, because I have. But anyway, the Cult of Ecstasy book was basically written almost stream of consciousness, with a big, as usual, big stack of research material right around me so I could look up the right words and so forth. But it was a kind of a watershed book for me. Also, I had gone to Burning Man for the first time a few months earlier, and
cool.
was like, this was back when Burning Man was a small secret kind of cool thing that only a few people knew about.
It was?
So I didn't even
At the beginning, it was a small thing.
Yeah, and when I first went, Wendy, my ex, and I went with my old girlfriend and former gaming partner Jennifer, and her then boyfriend, and actually Greg Stafford, the creator of RuneQuest. Greg Stafford was with us as well, and
I really wish to go there. Well, after the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, go to something that's new now. It's just the last time I went was 2006, and I felt it was played out even then.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't even want to think about going back to it now.
They lost the magic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was in '95 when I first went in '95. It was this kind of like, holy shit. That was the first time I'd seen people in real life dancing with fire. I'd seen boobies of it and stuff, but it was
the real deal.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, if I could do this, if I could be this person who had this chance to throw everything away and kind of go to the next level, what would that be like? And that's what the Cult of Ecstasy tradition book was like. So after I wrote that book, one, I had a better idea of what I wanted to do in Mage, but I also had a lot of questions. I had opened a lot of doors for who I wanted to be myself. So after I left White Wolf and Wendy and I split up for a variety of reasons, I said, okay, who am I going to be now? Who do I want to be now?
Oh!
And that's where the Satyros Satyr thing comes from. Partly because we were talking a few hours ago about wolf. I identified very, very strongly with wolf and with werewolves from the time I was a kid, to the point where at one point I thought about, I've never liked the name Phil, no offense. I've never liked that name for myself.
None
I never
taken.
felt like it. I never felt like it applied to, like it
The
fit
important
me.
here is that you don't say nothing about Laura. You have to love the name Laura.
Yeah.
The rest you can do.
Laura is a great thing. It's a wonderful
Thank
name.
you. Okay, the important is this is my channel, so if Filippo, you can offend him. It's not a problem.
But it was,
you know the meaning of the name, right?
I love you.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm joking.
Oh yeah, no, I know the root of. I mean the root of the root of, in my case, lover of horses. And it was like I can kind of, but I just like Phil. Phil is also my dad's name, so that's something to do too.
Okay.
But it was part of. I even thought about when I was in college changing my name to Wolf. But I couldn't figure out how to get people to call me that with a straight face.
There is a tale. That I'm now.
Actually, I kind of write about that in the story Swallowed, which is the first story in this book.
I was reading in a Tales of Music Weirdness, something like that,
Yes,
with
Swallowed
Werewolf.
is in that. Yeah.
That it talks about the name, how you give yourself a name, and you can accept your name or change the name because it changed your soul, and you want a new name, and you construct the name with the time, and you think about the name. And Raven Wolf came from a long work on himself to understand what he wanted to be. So,
and he had a person with him who kept calling him by his birth name because she'd just try and take him down because she's like, you're just being pretentious. And then she calls him the Frog Prince. But
I love it. I love that tale.
You could have changed. You could have changed. Well, before I translate, you could have changed your name from Philip to Philic. Because Lukos in ancient Greece is wolf. So
lover of wolves. True, I hadn't thought about that one. But it was when I basically broke up with White Wolf, I said, well, going back a little bit, when I was working on Changeling, I wrote the Kith section in Changeling First Edition, and Ian was asking me afterward. He says, "Well, what did you like about that?" He's like, "How was that experience?" I said, "Well, I really loved having to jump through, because I wrote it in less than 24 hours, that section, because of just stuff."
Which section?
The Kith section in the various different types of fairies.
Oh yeah, the
in
Kith section.
first
Okay,
edition, I wrote that in like 24 hours because
straight.
Yeah. Basically, it was one of those. I told Ian I wanted to do it, and then I put it off, and he's like, "Phil, I need this. This needs to go to editing." I was like, "Okay." So I came in and I just stayed in my office and occasionally like crashed on my papasan chair for a few hours, got up and typed again, went back to sleep, got up a few hours later, typed again until it was done.
Writer life.
Writer life, exactly. I try not to do that very often.
It reminds me something. Filippo knows. Okay, Filippo. Sorry, you were finishing.
Okay. But he said, what did you? I said, I loved putting myself into the mindset of all these different fairies, in a short period of time. But the ones I really, really related with most were the satyrs. And Ian laughs and he says, "That's because you are a satyr, Phil." And that became a running joke. Because like when there was this image from the Satyr Kith book, which looked like me with no beard. One of I don't remember if it was Ian or me or Jennifer or somebody, but somebody had photocopied it and put it up on my office door, and so it became a running joke. And also, Nikki Ray and Jackie Casada had introduced me to the.
Maybe it's destiny.
They introduced me to the Waterboys song, "The Return of Pan," which immediately resonated with me. So going forward a few years, I'm standing there in my kitchen doing dishes going, I don't feel like I trust Wolf anymore. I feel like Wolf and I have had a divorce. Who am I going to be now? And I had this image of Pan throwing back his head and laughing. And I was like, somebody's fucking telling me something. Okay. So,
I believe.
Okay, let's roll with it.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I told this to my friend Mark Jackson, and he drew me a picture of of Pan, as a green man laughing. And Wendy gave me one of her last gifts. Actually, she gave me the tattoo, which I have now on my left shoulder blade.
Oh.
And so when I went to Burning Man in 2001, and when I joined, various different pagan groups, and a few years later hiked barefoot on the Appalachian Trail, I went by the name Satyr Blade because I had a satyr on my shoulder blade. And people just started calling me Satyr. And so by around 2005, 2006, nobody was calling me Phil anymore, and I liked it that way. So, I was Satyr Blade or just plain Satyr. By the time I came out to Seattle and met Sandy in 2007, not many people knew me as Phil. Most people knew me as Satyr, and I wasn't even talking about the White Wolf stuff at that point. I figured I'd put that behind me.
Okay.
No, I hadn't.
Nice story, because I wanted to ask you about the story of Satyrs, but I was waiting because I didn't want to be indiscreet. So
that would be the story, yeah. And
so nice.
Thank you. I just when Sandy and I did the book Ravens in the Library, which was a benefit.
Benefits opera, saga for
Sewage S.J. Tucker, who had introduced us, and was the friend who also inspired Arpeggio and other things. She introduced Sandy and I to each other at the Fairy Worlds Festival in 2006, 2007 rather. Sewage and I had met at the Fairy Worlds Festival in 2004, so the whole Satyr thing was very ingrained at that point. But when we put together Ravens in the Library, I had to call on people I knew back in the old days. So I started going by Phil again. And suddenly people were like, Phil, wait a minute. You're the guy who did those books that I did back in the 90s. And holy shit. And people stopped calling me Satyr and started calling me Phil.
It was weird to you, I think. It was weird to you at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were like, almost made it.
Yeah, and then when we went to Greece in 2011, my friend Adonis christened me Satyros,
Yeah.
the satyr in Greek.
Greek.
And I was
Satyros,
like, that's
yes.
it. And so
In fact,
now
we
I
were-
can be
we were not deciding.
Satyros, and I can be Phil, and I can be satyr.
Oh,
There's the
one-
name, Satyros
one thing-
Brucato.
Yeah, one thing you it would be funny. Sorry for myself controlling
okay.
my cat anyway. In the meanwhile, and it was trying again. Huh? It was trying again. So one of the things that before you came here tonight, were discussing with Filippo was how do you think I can pronounce satyr, satyros in English?
Yeah.
We're discussing about it because
Oh yeah,
in
discussing
Italian-
about
in
the
Italian
correct
it would be
pronunciation of
Satyros, we should say in
Satyros
Italian.
Satyros
So
works.
we were questioning about what do you think that I have to say? Okay, so Filippo traduci un attimo, it translates just a
Okay,
little.
I'll try to be as quick
Yeah,
as possible.
a summary,
Okay.
because I have another the last question for you.
All'inizio parlavamo del libro di Cult of Ecstasy, giusto?
Sì, che io ho detto vai,
Fondamentalmente-
quanto Ecstasy, io non sono una cultista
Esatto,
al
perché la
momento.
storia del libro è che è stato scritto fondamentalmente, cioè la prima draft del libro è stata scritta ma da un'altra persona che non ha fatto un buon lavoro, quindi
Si è trovato a doverla.
esatto, è stato doverlo fare tipo in
Poco tempo, una settimana, a week, you
settimana,
said?
tipo.
A week is for the Cult of Ecstasy.
You had to write
About
the
2.5
no?
weeks.
Una
About 2.5
settimana.
weeks.
1 week and a half. Okay.
And a half.
2 weeks, ok.
Ah,
E
2,
quindi
ok.
2.5
in 2
weeks,
settimane
A long
riscriverò
time, anyway.
da zero. E la prima cosa che ha pensato quando si è messo lì è
È stato
stata
panico.
ho paura. E quindi l'ha scritto fondamentalmente come un flusso di coscienza.
That is
dove
I think that is the right thing for a Cult of Ecstasy. The stream of consciousness is perfect.
the
How can
stream
you
of
express
consciousness
Probably
approach.
the
better-
perfect way to do it.
How can you describe better a cultist if not with a stream of consciousness?
Exactly. Well, then sorry, Philippe. Go ahead.
Yeah, entrando molto in contatto con la sua parte femminile nel scrivere
Sì.
questo libro. E da lì siamo arrivati a parlare del...
Come
mi
mai
ricordo come
diventato
si chiama.
il satiro? Come mai?
Sì, no,
Perché abbiamo parlato del fatto della parte maschile e femminile di ognuno di noi, del fatto che comunque lui si è trovato anche nella condizione di... Lui era, se non ho capito bene, un po' più sul poligamistico come mentalità, però poi si è ritrovato chiuso in varie scatole, ha detto, quindi a un certo punto è esploso con questa, e poi si è passati da lì, è esploso perché si è trovato prima, quando si è comunque, lo era già da giovane quando era a scuola, comunque c'erano dei limiti che aveva, si sentiva un po' chiuso, poi col fatto del matrimonio, poi anche quando ha lavorato per la White Wolf a un certo punto stava tornando a sentirsi abbastanza chiuso, mentre lui, e quindi a un certo punto c'è stata una specie di esplosione di cioè si è esploso di espressività, ha conosciuto il danza del fuoco, ha cominciato a fare anche
sia al Burning Man,
sì,
che comunque ha detto
esatto,
non andateci
ha
perché ormai
conosciuto-
è una cosa per turisti.
Ok.
Praticamente quindi cercate il nuovo Burning Man.
Ok, e quindi avendo fatto queste esperienze, niente, da lì praticamente parlando di queste esperienze che hanno legate al culto dell'estasi, dicendo che in quel momento, cioè, ha sentito anche molto, ha messo dentro anche molto di queste esperienze di questo suo liberarsi delle scatole, in cui si stava cominciando a sentire chiuso, e quindi queste esperienze col fuoco, e cioè che hanno, diciamo, influenzato il lavoro, anche o comunque il culto dell'estasi. Poi da là ci ha raccontato la storia di come è diventato Satyros. E quindi
che
sempre perché lui
fondamentalmente
ama cambiare, diciamo a un certo punto non si trova più d'accordo con la sua
con il
definizione di-
lupo, esatto.
con il lupo che era in adolescenza, quindi quando si identificava col lupo mannaro, col werewolf, e quindi stava cercando una nuova identità. È stato quasi un caso.
Sì, perché c'era questa recurring joke, quindi questa...
Sì, perché
nel
somigliava, c'era questa
Sì, perché c'era
fotocopia,
un'immagine
questa immagine.
nel capitolo dei Keith di Changing in the Dreaming, dove
Esatto,
c'era
di
questo
un
satiro
satiro
che assomigliava a lui senza barba.
Senza
Quindi
barba.
gli hanno tipo stampato la foto e messa sulla porta. E
quindi da là-
a un certo punto stava lavando i piatti in cucina e ha avuto l'illuminazione dove gli ha detto basta, cioè sono satiro.
Detto, qualcuno sta cercando
Esatto,
di
qualcuno
dirmi
sta cercando di dirmi
qualcosa,
qualcosa, esatto. E quindi da lì ha
Entropy.
cambiato, esatto, ha cambiato la sua identità fondamentalmente.
Sì, che poi in realtà
il suo
sì,
nome.
siamo finiti. Il culto dell'est è andato molto fluido il discorso, perché stiamo
Esatto.
molto andando a flusso di coscienza. We are on streaming stream of consciousness in our speech too. So sometimes we start from a point,
From a point
then
and we
speak.
go to...
Talking about satyros, magic, and all those things. Okay, we summarize. I have a question for you that you can expect from me about strollers. the last question,
Oh,
because it's, I don't want
sorry.
to take too much time. But so my last question. Then, if you want to speak, what time you want. Okay, you're free to be here whenever you want. But my last question, personally, I don't know if Filippo has something else. Is about stroller.
I have
First of
just
all,
one question.
okay, after mine.
After this.
After
Okay.
mine.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's after mine. Okay. No, about strollers, because I searched for strollers, because I heard about strollers time ago, but I could never find the series, searching on Google a link, or so I just descriptions of the episode, and finally I had a link from you, so I could see the episodes, and I love it. I really love it. So it's a very particular project, that when you can give your ideas, and you can interact with the story. And change the story if you want to interact, but there are some headlines, okay, that recurs, like the color thing, and the searching, the Frankie mission, the Irish mission, okay. And but you have so much different stories around the world, and every episode is placed in a particular place in a world. And I love it, because so I've got many questions about strollers. First of all, the project, you were just involved, or you're part of the first concept? You discuss with Ben, it's your idea, it's Ben's idea, or you got involved. Who is the starter of this project?
It was a little of both. Ben and I met in 2004 when I was touring for my book Deliria Fairy Tales for New Millennium, and Ben was touring for his movie The Gamers.
The Gamers,
He loved
yeah, he's a
Deliria.
legend,
I
yeah.
loved The Gamers, and the two of us started talking. We became friends, and
He's so nice.
the
I can
the
imagine.
next thank you. The next year, Ben asked me. He said, "What would you think about doing a Deliria movie?" And I was like, "Yes." So he said, "Pitch me a
Just a
Deliria
second to
movie."
think about it.
So I made up off
I
the
have to
top of
think
my
about
head.
it. Okay, I have to think.
But I came up with something off the top of my head, and he says, "Well, write a film treatment." So I wrote a film treatment of it, and in between that time, in between the time that I wrote up the film treatment and the time that he contacted me next, I quit Laughing Pan Productions, which was the company that published Deliria, and then Ben calls me in 2007, 2007, and he says, "I have somebody who might be interested in making a Deliria movie. Do you want to come out here to Seattle so we can brainstorm on it?" And I was like, "Yes." So I borrowed money from a friend of mine, came out to Seattle, and that is actually how I ended up moving to Seattle. Was initially I was just going to come out here for for a few weeks, brainstorm with Ben, and we were going to make a Deliria movie. What I came up with was a little too ambitious for what Ben could make at that time, and I ended up meeting Sandy and falling in love with her and falling in love with Seattle, so I stayed. And in the meantime, Ben and I had a bit of conflict over the Deliria movie and some other stuff, and so I went to go work on my stuff, and he went to go work on his stuff, and we reconciled a few years later, and he said, "I had this idea that I came up with that was originally inspired by Deliria. Would you be interested in working on it?" And that was called Strowlers. Now, in between those two things, because none of this stuff is easy, S.J. Tucker and her then partner, Kevin Wiley, had come up with the idea of doing a series of festivals called Strowlers. And they did 3 of them, one in Seattle, one in Philadelphia, and I think the other one was in Denver, but I'm not sure, where they brought together, dancers and fire performers and shibari performers and other musicians and so forth. And those productions were based around the idea of creative outlaws. Ben and Kay had been talking about making a series of festivals or a series of films about creative outlaws, because all of us are creative outlaws. Ben took that idea and ran with it, into creating the initial world of Strellers, which was inspired by Deliria.
Okay.
And so
Tales for the New Millennium.
Yeah.
Fairy Tales for the New Millennium.
Yeah, that was this,
Yeah.
which is unfortunately out of print,
that
and
cover.
my former business partners and I are fighting
So
about
this
it.
is the inspirator.
Huh?
They are inspired to this book.
Yeah.
They were inspired from this book. Oh.
Strowlers was inspired in part by this and in part by other things. And so when Ben, this is about, I guess, 2012, 2011, 2012, Ben and I start working on Strowlers. At that point, he has other people involved as well. So I became part of the story team. We took everything that had been originally created and threw it all out and started again. And that's when I'm blanking on that. There have been a number of people who came through the story team, Gabriel and
don't worry about it.
But in any case, in between all of that, I started doing Mage again. And then
and that's the question. How was hard? How hard was? Not
working on both of them was hard.
Too much Mage. Yeah, you told me
working on both of those things at the same time was hard. And part of my my role, or I felt my role in Strowlers, was to keep it from becoming too much like Mage.
It was it was very hard.
Ish.
One of the very similar for example, for the color thing, the technocracy the colored one.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that the archaeologists were not just the technocracy under another name.
It's very similar, but the mood is original anyway. I can assure that when you see if you are a Mage fan, you can recognize some recalling, but it's very original. In a way, also because it has episodes very different.
For instance, one of the main differences between Strollers and Mage is that in Stroller, like the concept of magic is like common knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. While in Mage is something hidden.
Yeah. The first difference, yes.
Yeah, and one of the things that influenced Strowlers a lot and has unfortunately become more and more relevant is during the time we were working on this, there was the Occupy movement, and then there was Ferguson, and the protests at Ferguson, and then Standing Rock, and those things just got Ben and me and the rest of the story team feeling more and more militant about this whole portraying this abusive authority and the people rising up against the abusive authority. Ben came up with the idea during the Ferguson standoff, came up with the idea of changing the characters who were originally two white characters, of having one of them black.
Black, the storyteller. The storyteller.
Yeah, well, and
also a gay couple. Also,
a gay couple. That was the gay couple was always there. It was there from the beginning because both Ben and I, and pretty much everybody else, Iba, are all. Let's just say we don't identify as straight. And so all of these different layers and all these different events ended up coming together. It took a while, obviously, for it to for it to be filmed, but by the time that we had the final episode, Ben had also come up with the idea of contacting other people in other countries, and rather than just it being a matter of us telling a story, saying how can we inspire people to tell their stories.
This is the interesting project. This is the interesting project.
And tying it all together under the name of Strowlers, rather than just us going, here's a story about Strowlers, going, who are the creative misfits, who are the creative outlaws in your country, who are the creative outlaws in your culture, and working with people in Ireland and
so you have local
Greece.
Staff.
Exactly.
So collaboration with local staffs.
Exactly.
They can create their own story, and the thing that we are discussing with Ben, and no spoiler at all. Anyway, I said to Filippo. Anyway, no, I love this kind of project, but my curiosity is every episode as a supervisor. Anyway, Ben was the supervisor when he went was able to move anyway before COVID, because you want to maintain guidelines. So the first guidelines going on, because sometimes the episodes seem they are all beautiful, but while for example the Frankie one, the Pepper John and Frankie one, they return. Frankie returns, and Pepper John's return. The color thing returns in the story. In other episodes, you just see pieces of magics and magic happening, but without this connection. So you think that with the new series, I think that they were coming out soon. The new seasons will be more connected to the headlines, or you will be free. You will give the same freedom to the people, to the local people, to do disconnected stories. Anyway, there are some elements, so you want to maintain. If you will be involved.
We're trying to keep things as open and freeform as possible. Partly because we're living in an era of even more transformation than usual right now, and trying to control the narrative is not only, I think, counterproductive from our standpoint, but it goes against the theme. The whole theme of Strowlers as empowering creative outlaws to change an oppressive world. It wouldn't make any sense for us to oppress people with our vision.
But I want to know anyway. But I want to know. But I want to know the end of the story of Frankie, of the Frankie's mission.
Hell, we don't know the end of it.
Also the color things
up as we go along.
And I want to know also if the mages would be free from the colors and how the revolution would be. So just a little.
Well,
I love freedom, but I want to know the end. You know.
If I can add something, I think that the notion that in a story must have a protagonist, a single protagonist, maybe two protagonists, is something that is surpassed. It's something that is old.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so you can have stories with a protagonist for sure, but it's not a requirement. Like it's something that I think it was Ron Edwards, the game designer of Sorcerer and Troll Babe. He said that like back in the 80s or in the 90s, an RPG had to have the chart for weapons, otherwise it wouldn't be considered an RPG. And it's thinking about some new indie games is something that's it's obsolete, completely obsolete.
I agree, but just I'm curious to know what the revolution will lead, and also if Frankie will make it in accomplish our mission, so to protect us from the fairies. What's happened to Frankie when she was in the fairylands? And I'm so curious, so I would like to see. Okay, I love the freedom of the project. It's the characteristic, the main characteristic. But give me also other adventure from Frankie's. Okay.
We're trying. I mean, part of the problem just from
give the mission to other characters. Okay, Frankie left the mission to other characters, so we can see the revolution.
But part of it is the way that Ben has been putting these projects together is that it is completely funded and supported by the fans, because if it was a simple matter of doing things the way that films are usually produced, then we would go to producers and they would give us money and there would be lots of strings attached to the money, and no, we can't have a black female character because that doesn't appeal to demographic. I know. The characters don't play down that gay thing, that we can't sell it in China if they're gay, sir. And we were just like, fuck all of that. We were
right.
Amen.
You're right. No, ok, intanto ci ha spiegato Phil che io ho chiesto di Strollers. Allora, Strollers è un progetto, io ho messo nella mia pagina, I got a Strollers link on my page, and then I give the link here. I will have the link here after the streaming.
And you can also watch it on Amazon Prime, right?
It's on Amazon Prime. It is available in
didn't
some
find
countries
it.
and not in others. I watch it
Oh,
on the
okay.
Fantasy
here.
Network.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's here because I didn't find
Yeah.
it in Italy.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
it's not on the Italian catalog, sadly.
Yeah,
No, no.
the Fantasy Network is internationally available.
Yeah, it's thank you that gave me the link because perché lui mi ha dato il link perché praticamente io lo conoscevo Strollers, my cat, conoscevo is that like dan dan zan zan zan. Conoscevo Strollers però lo volevo vedere, però praticamente, a parte le descrizioni degli episodi e tutte queste cose era introvabile praticamente qui. Cioè metti Strollers in Google, ti arrivano le descrizioni ma non trovi gli episodi. Quindi ho avuto finalmente il link di Fantasy Network e sono andata e che ho sulla mia pagina, quindi se lo volete vedere Strollers lo trovate lì e vedetelo perché è bellissimo. È un progetto che hanno fatto lui e praticamente la Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, che è praticamente quindi Ben di The Gamers, niente poco di meno che la produzione di The Gamers che tutti quanti ben conosciamo, e non so, My Cat. No, it's incredible, it's unstoppable. Oh, okay, surrounded on my bed now. Ok, dicevo, è molto bello perché è un progetto totalmente indipendente che è partito ispirato dal libro Tales Deliria, Fairy Tales for New Millennium, e che appunto hanno discusso insieme, si sono incontrati poi con Ben, hanno discusso insieme. Ben per primo ha proposto, è stata un po' una cosa di entrambi, ha proposto: ma che ne dici di fare un film praticamente da Deliria, quindi da queste storie. Poi vabbè, sono intercorse altre cose nel frattempo perché appunto non è facile lavorare su queste cose, ci sono stati dei disaccordi, poi lui si è sposato, è rimasto a Seattle, insomma comunque poi l'hanno ripreso nel 2011 se non erro, 2011-12 mi sembra di aver capito.
Sì.
E praticamente questo progetto è quasi totalmente finanziato dai fan, che è una cosa che li lascia molto liberi perché altrimenti andrebbero prima di tutto solite magagne della distribuzione, no? Non mettere la coppia gay perché se no non vendi in Cina, non mettere questo perché non va bene, togli il personaggio, quindi hanno detto fanculo tutto fondamentalmente e si finanziano, insomma, grazie, sono prima autofinanziati e poi col sostegno dei fan portano avanti, ed è una storia fighissima perché il suo lavoro poi è stato molto quello di controllare perché nel frattempo lui poi aveva ricominciato a scrivere Mage, quindi il lavoro su Strollers, che è una serie di racconti di episodi, ognuno ambientato inizia fondamentalmente con la storia di questi maghi che sono conosciuti, cioè la magia, si sa che esiste la magia nel mondo, però i maghi che manifestano questi poteri vengono chiusi in collari che soffocano i loro poteri magici per evitare che facciano disastri. Molti di loro sono anche volontari, cioè lo fanno volentieri perché hanno creato many of the mages.
La famiglia è morta
they cause damage to, so some of them are they volunteer with the collar because they don't want to damage the people, so quindi molti sono volontari e c'è questa istituzione che ricorda molto la tecnocrazia inizialmente, che dà la caccia appunto a chi non ha il collare o comunque ha i potenziali maghi in erba che ne sono fuori controllo. E da lì poi c'è una storia, ci sono due linee fondamentalmente, una è quella che parte da questi collari e questa istituzione, cosa ne sarà, quindi se ci saranno dei maghi ribelli che non vogliono più il collare e cosa ne andrà avanti insomma di questa storia. E l'altra è una storia che inizia con Pepper Jones, quindi the starting of the other line, we have two lines, the collar and the mission of Frankie. Starting with Pepper Jones, that I love, è un personaggio che praticamente è una sorta di spia neanche di FBI magica, è un po' come era in Harry Potter, diciamo la polizia per i maghi, che va appunto cercando casi di magia, di pericolo, e involontariamente invece di convinta che uno dei personaggi, poi lo vedrete, insomma, voglia aprire un portale, la costringe a sparire nella Terra delle Fate, e nella Terra delle Fate questo personaggio viene a sapere che ci saranno degli probabili attacchi da parte delle fate, quindi ci sono delle zone pericolose, ci saranno delle cose che succederanno, e intraprende questa missione nel mondo per andare a cercare questi luoghi pericolosi. Quindi da lì abbiamo una puntata a Copenaghen, una puntata in Asia, una puntata, non sempre però sono legate fra loro, quindi ci sono gli episodi come quella di Copenaghen che è legata a Frankie che torna e cerca nuovi aiuti, diciamo aiuto locale per contenere queste forze, e poi ci sono episodi separati che sono stati fatti con il contributo di staff locali, perché la loro intenzione era proprio quella di lasciare liberamente che si esprimesse proprio la cultura locale, i miti locali, la magia locale, senza opprimere con una storia già data. Quindi vorrebbero mantenere questa linea. Io gli ho detto, vabbè, ok, però voglio anche sapere come va a finire la missione di Frankie. E comunque vedetelo perché è veramente bello, merita, io lo metterò sulla pagina. Okay, sorry for the translation, very long, because I was explaining also the strollers episodes and the meaning. I said, okay, I see it, but I was explaining a little the lines. Okay, now if Filippo has a last question, because you've been very, very, very kind to be all this time with us, and I don't want to tell you, because if it was for me, you should stay here forever. We can leave the streaming, okay, with my cat here. Open as you want. Why you can, but I know you're very busy and you'll be too kind, really too kind.
You're wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate you both hosting, and I appreciate everybody who's watching.
No, we appreciate you that you've been here. You're a myth here. You're the big deal here. In Italy, you're a big one. I have people hating me because you are here with me and not. Yeah, it's mine.
My best friend Inky says that just dropping my name among their friends can get them, to buy Inky beer, and I think I'm glad that's not the person I see in the mirror. Apparently,
I heard so much that. Okay, I heard so much I can make an adventure about it. That's something we are discussing. But no. Okay, that's something we are discussing.
It's definitely not boring.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you
it's a really quick question, but a tricky one, and I understand that the answer can be fluid. But right now, what's your favorite RPG?
Oh wow.
The simplest question I didn't think about.
My favorite to play. I mean,
play.
Yeah, I mean, I've been putting in a ridiculous amount of hours on Grand Theft Auto Online lately, but that's just catharsis there. My favorite tabletop RPG.
Tabletop RPG.
It's probably Monster Hearts.
Oh, you too.
I don't know why, but I guessed it. I would have guessed it. According to your reaction before.
It's probably Monster Hearts.
It's a surprise. It's a surprisingly popular answer when I asked this question.
Okay, you're twin souls.
Yeah. Yep. Kindred spirits, all right.
I definitely have to try it.
Yep.
So
we can do that one. We can do that one. Gaming as well. But I'm also really enjoying D&D 5th edition, which surprised me because although I started playing D&D back in the late 70s, I didn't like it. I really did not like the rules. Really didn't like the rules, and especially when Bill and John introduced me to the hero system, Champions, in 1983. I was like, oh, I want to play this, because Champions was all about building the character you wanted to play, not the character class that you rolled up on the dice. Which obviously D&D has changed a lot since then, but at that time, almost every game was the character that the dice told you had to play, or it was the character concept that was fit into a class, and the hero system allowed you to build the character you wanted to play.
From scratch.
I was all about the hero system until 1993, when I started with White Wolf on staff, and nobody played hero system. Every game that we played, was the World of Darkness system, or every game that I was involved in playing was World of Darkness system, storyteller system. I'm not a huge fan of the storyteller system, if for no other reason than because it's been my job. But I didn't play D&D except for when my friend Nathan Ballingrud had invited me to play D&D 3.5 with his gaming group back in 2006. I played a few games of that, but it was still like, this is too tactical for me. But then a few years ago, after 5th edition came out, my nephew had wanted to run a D&D 5th edition game, and I borrowed some of the books from a friend of ours who owned a game store. And I was like, this is actually fun. Holy shit, it's well written. I've never seen a D&D book that was well written before. I actually want to play this.
Don't say that to the Italians. Don't say that to the Italians.
I'm part of the secret enclave who prefer the 4th edition, but don't tell anyone.
No, there's a lot of enthusiasm about the old school. Yeah.
The old
But
school
I agree with
Renaissance thing,
you.
yeah.
The
That's what
5th edition.
The best game is whatever you want to play most.
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
no the arguing over which version or which rule system is best. That's stupid. The best game is the one that you want to play most.
Yeah, reality is subjective.
Best
again.
game. Okay, can you write, Filippo? Can you write it, please, on the chat? The best game is the one you want to play most. I will give it as my
As a tattoo.
Yeah, go
On your
for
my
it.
shoulder.
motto will
On
be
your
the
shoulder
motto
blade.
of this channel. From now on,
Yeah.
it will be the motto of this channel.
And
So
I want to play
officially.
Fate. I like Fate in I like Fate in abstract, but I haven't played it yet. It seems like it would, with the right group, it seems like it would be a great game. I have a bunch of the Fate books, I just haven't played it yet. And the same thing with Bluebeard's Bride. I love the concept. I love the book. I haven't played it yet, but
Whenever you want to play it, you just
Whenever you want to, you are invited.
write to
Doors
us
are
and
open.
we can arrange it. Yeah.
Now,
Rate
here's
me. We arrange a play where a role playing whenever you want.
Thank you. A question I got for Philippe: what are those games behind you? Because I've been looking at that like this entire conference. They look beautiful.
Yeah, well, they are all board games.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it's because I'm really into RPGs, tabletop RPGs and board games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that much into video games.
Yeah.
And this one, it's really cool. The box is really cool.
That is
It's called
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a dude on a map game like Risk, and it's set in a mythological Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Root,
Sparone.
and it's really cool as well. And it's set in a forest, and you play as these really cute animals, but they are like engaging in a really deadly war. So it's basically a game about war. So you have different factions, like the resistance, the cats who want to turn the forest in a very big city, or we have the lizards, who are a secret cult, a death cult. So they look cute, but they are fighting a really deadly war. Then we have back there we have Terraforming Mars, which is really popular, in which you basically you are the CEO of a corporation, and these corporations want like every corporation, and they want to terraform Mars. And so the corporation that terraform the most wins. And then we have Mysterium, which is really cool. In Mysterium, it's a full cooperative game. One player is a ghost, and the other players are mediums, and they're doing a seance during Halloween.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so you have like 7 turns, like the 7 hours of the night, and the ghost, the player who's playing a ghost, have to suggest to the medium who, where, and with which weapon he or she was killed. The catch is the ghost cannot talk; is completely silent.
Oh.
And
It's beautiful.
yeah,
I have to try it.
to
I
suggest
want
the
it.
culprit or the location, the ghost must give to the mediums these very wonderful drawn cards, which are like dreams or visions, and
che figata.
the mediums must read into these visions and dreams the culprit and the location of the murder, and they had like 7 turns to do that, and it's fully cooperative. Then we have Blood Rage, which is another dude on a map game set in mythological Norse, no Norse,
Norse.
Norse.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that one. I actually have a few
Blood Rage?
Blood Rage miniatures. Yeah, I don't have the game itself, but I have a few. There's an online
miniature, yeah.
store where you can order miniatures, and I have a few
Yeah,
Blood
well,
Rage miniatures.
the company who made the game is called Simon or Camon. I don't know how to pronounce it, and it's pretty famous for the miniature.
Yeah, I'm
And
curious.
yeah, and this year they are producing a very similar game set in a mythological Egypt, which will be it will be really cool. And then the last one is Scythe, and
Cool.
it's yeah.
The-
I
the
feel
Mysterium.
poor. I feel so poor here.
The Mysterium one, is that, what language is that, in French, English, Italian,
No,
German?
it's language independent.
Okay, because that one, I mean, I feel like, not like I have extra
It's-
money at this point, but that one sounds like something Sandy and I would really enjoy. So I
Yeah,
want to
because
track that one down.
it's fully cooperative,
Okay.
but it's asymmetrical because one player plays as a ghost and the other as mediums. And I think that the game is
Sounds like some child game.
It's
that we
from
did.
Poland, I think. The original game it's from Poland, but the entire game is played with pictures, so it's completely language independent. And it's
Okay.
called Mysterium with a Y. I will wait. I will send you a link.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because I want to look for that one. Oh, and-
Mysterium. Wait.
Okay, we give all the links.
And another game I really suggest you is called Spirit Island.
yeah,
we
we own Spirit Island. We
Okay.
have that one. Yep, it's fuck the Travelers of Catan.
I'm
Yeah.
quite. I'm
You
quite
play
ignorant
against
about-
them.
I'm quite ignorant about board games because I'm still
That's
standing
the link
on
to
the
the
old
game.
ones. Like I'm still standing on the old ones. But
Yeah, the Spirit Island is essentially drive the settlers of Catan off your goddamn island.
but it's goddamn hard.
good. No, I'm not a fanatic. I'm not a board game fan. A lot, not so much. Not so
I'm
much.
not
I
a-
like the card games. Card games like Lupus in Tabula, those kind of Munchkin.
Werewolves. You like social deduction game. I'm
Yeah,
really
like,
into social deduction games. They are my favorite.
No, I like most.
I really like to backstab my friends.
And I'm really a collaborative cooperative gamer. I
Yeah.
don't like to backstab my friends.
No, I don't like to. That's why I always die when I play vampires.
Yeah,
They,
I'm not-
Because
they
you
don't
don't-
feel like me. They don't think
You're
like
not
me.
you're not a turncoat.
No, I can be a vampire if I'm too collaborative, but it seems okay. So it's a pity that I forgot my Bible, my Mage 20 edition, because I wanted your blessing on it. So
you.
maybe if you can bless it from there,
there.
okay? Can
Bless
you
the Mage,
blessing
bless
on my
the Mage.
Bible? Thank you very much. I
And
think it's
while
now
we're
it's
talking, while we're talking about other games, this
Power
is,
chord.
oh.
this is. I wanted to briefly mention my baby. Oh, that's the friend of mine, the one actually.
Oh,
that's
the one. Well,
Inky,
the one
the
depicted in.
well,
I really like the reference of the font.
yeah, the Metallica logo.
Yeah,
but
the Metallica logo.
This is our friend and former housemate Inky, the one that I mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay,
Said that they could get their friends to buy them drinks by mentioning me.
Mentioning your
That's
name.
Inky.
Yeah,
But,
beautiful.
But this is one of my favorites. One of
Wow.
my favorite creations here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like the cover.
Because you were mentioning earlier my whole being a musician thing. I started
Yeah,
working
I
on
wanted
power
to
chords.
ask you about music. But I don't want to take you too much time because I wanted to ask you what's music in your life when you and also when you write. If you're inspired, if you take music while you write.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
guess
I
too.
definitely do. Spotify is my friend. I mean, even though
What's your favorite group?
Mine-
What's your
mine too.
favorite band?
wow.
What's your favorite band?
Well, I've been going. Here's a link for power chords.
Yeah,
It-
thank you.
It goes back and forth because I love a bunch of different kinds of music. Right now, I've been really on a Rush kick because I've been a Rush fan since like 1979.
My father is.
Cool.
He's really into prog rock.
Yes, it's funny. I'm not that much into prog rock, but I love Rush. I love the guys. I love the music that they did, and I was writing about them a few days ago. How unlike my other favorite band at this point is Killing Joke, but I'm feeling annoyed with Jazz Coleman right now because he's always been a conspiracy theory nut job. I know that. I mean, I accept it. I love the music anyway, but he's really on a COVID conspiracy theory denial thing, and that's just bothering me.
Well, I'm really able to separate the art from the artist.
You kind of have to.
I'm really into country music, so I have to separate the art from the artist.
Much more. I'm much more metal, but I'm much more on epic and power.
Yeah.
So
Viking
I don't know
Chickaboom.
if you like. Always I like how my favorite band is actually is Camelot, but also. Yeah, but I also like historical groups anyway. So you put your music while you work.
Oh yeah.
While you work, and also you used to inspire from the music you like, or when you write, you choose a kind of music, a genre of music that you think you can be an inspiration for. For example.
Oh
yeah. Also, if you don't listen to this music usually, or.
Oh no, I always listen to music, preferably loud. I'm sending you a link right now to my Spotify.
Okay.
Oh yeah! Oh wow!
Usually what I do is when I'm working on a project.
Can I share the link with the audience?
You can feel free. It's public. And what I do when I'm working on a particular project is I make up a playlist for that project, and sort of that's what I listen to while I'm working on it, but also compiling the playlist helps me focus my ideas for what I want to put in that project. So it's kind of plays back and forth. I both listen to the music while I'm working, but I'm also constantly adding and shaping to the playlist as I'm writing, because I don't usually outline. I will make like a really, really rough outline of a nonfiction book, like a gaming book, just to say what I want to have in it. But even my game books wind up very different from my outlines. But I never outline my fiction or my novels because my muse, she wants to hear the story once. And if I outline the story, my muse is like, yeah, I told that story already. I'm like, yes, but now I have to write it. She's like, no, it's done. Tell another one. Fuck! I have to.
She's right.
That's one of the things that went wrong, with my other novels, is I would try and outline them, and then I would just find that I'd already told the story, and I didn't want to go through all of the work of telling it again in more detail. That being said, one of my current novel projects is based on a screenplay. Actually, the screenplay that originally began as the Deliria movie. I retitled it Crossways because of the issues over the intellectual property rights of Deliria, and also because Deliria is a name that doesn't mean anything to anybody who's not familiar with Deliria. Crossways, which is what I call the screenplay and what I'm calling the novel, suggests something to people who are not familiar with the game. So Crossways is my attempt
or with Latin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so currently I'm working on a novelization of Crossways. I'm gonna put most of my emphasis behind that in November and December. You asked a long while ago, about if there was something that I wish I hadn't written. Nothing I have published. I don't regret anything that I have published. There were things that I've started writing and just said, yeah, no. And there are one or two stories that I have written that I'm just like, no, that's never going to see print. There are definitely things I've written and published that I would change or have changed if I got the opportunity. There was a series I started in Steampunk Tales back in
Steampunk
2008, 2009. I think it was 2008. But I wrote 3 episodes of it, and then I just said, I don't feel like this is my story to tell, so I never finished it, and I'm not reprinting it. But that wasn't because I was ashamed of it. It was just because I felt like it wasn't working.
Okay, so you were left the novel that you already written, but even if you would not go on with the story.
Yeah,
there's you don't regret the story you've already written.
No,
that's good.
There are, I said there are one or two stories that I've written that I've gone, yeah, I'm not fucking publishing that, but they haven't been published. Nobody's going to see them. So.
Okay, that's why.
But there are, there, especially with some of the really early Mage books. Do I wish I could have done things differently? Well, yeah. I mean, I was learning what I was doing, and plus, this is something that we sometimes people who are a lot younger than the books themselves will get on us for really dated material in some of those books that are 20 or 30 years old, where you didn't use this terminology, or you used this term but it's a slur, or you didn't do this properly. Like, yes, but we didn't have the internet when we wrote that. We didn't have sensitivity readers. We couldn't go on Amazon and order a bunch of books on this subject. I couldn't go to a fan group and run it past this portrayal of Mexico is really, really offensive. If we could have run it past some people who were, who actually lived in Mexico, it would have been better. But that was written in 1993. 1994, Chaos Factor. That's of all. No, now that I mention it, there are two books that I wish I'd never done. I can't say I wish I never did them, because I learned things from doing them, but I'm not a fan of those books, and that would be Chaos Factor and the Akashic Brotherhood Tradition book, first edition, which is the single worst
Brotherhood.
thing I have
This surprised
ever
me. Why? Why?
It's amazingly offensive.
Because it's full of stereotypes.
It's full of stereotypes, but the problem is it's not the author's fault.
Yeah, they are all stereotypes. Okay, now you have to take for the time.
We didn't know any Asian. I'm not even sure there were any Asian RPG writers in 1995. If there were, we didn't know them. We couldn't, run it past people to make sure it was culturally sensitive or culturally authentic. And
also because cultural sensitivity kind of didn't exist back then.
It did. It's just people didn't have a way of telling you to your face that you'd offended them.
Oh, okay, got it.
I personally don't have a problem. I have a problem with the people who are offended for the sake of being offended. Like there was somebody who was jumping up and down on the Book of the Fallen, saying it was anti-Semitic. This person's not even Jewish, and fuck that. People being offended for the sake of being offended, or distorting what the book says.
Another question
in order to be offended. That's different. But if you present something in a book and it is offensive to people, then I feel like now that we have the ability to address that, we should aim to do better.
The question is, this is another discussion. Great. You can imagine after the facts that occurred in her recent history also, that also the game world is changing this way. Because but there's the normal wars between, as I told you before, because I don't know if in English you say it the same way. But come si dice, la strada dell'inferno è costellata di buone intenzioni. The way toward hell is full of good intentions. We have this motto.
Exactly.
So, for example, you have the ability now to do better. So it's right, it's good. It has to be that you produce something better. But I don't feel like we can get so much offended in the way some people do for the all things, because they everybody knows they're all things. You can judge a native opera, a native work with the eyes and get offended now that we are in 2020. It's normal. It was an old. You have to take it. I think you have to take the wrong things or the old things, examining, learn from the mistakes, or consider for what they were, and then you can do that. But no, I am not for destroying the old things, or no, because sometimes here the big discussion was about destroying the old things or change completely the old thing. Why? We have to learn from the history. We have to learn by history.
mean,
So-
I'm all in favor of, if you've got somebody, call people on their shit. And if you've got somebody, like H.P. Lovecraft, who was a massive racist,
Yeah.
to say
But now
this
you don't
dude was a
destroy
massive
Lovecraft.
racist
You can
is,
destroy.
but don't say you can't read Lovecraft or you're a racist. That's absurd.
Are
No,
you
But
that's
acknowledge
what,
are you
that
that's what I
Lovecraft
say. That's
himself
what I
was a
say.
racist.
are you watching Lovecraft Country right now?
No, I don't have HBO.
Oh, okay.
I'm
anyway.
looking forward to being able to get hold of it because I really want to see it.
To see, yeah. Well, the first episode was really cool, and it addresses the main topic, which is racism is scarier than any Cthulhu mythos monsters.
Well, yeah, and of course that's where Lovecraft came up with a lot of his cosmic horrors because he was afraid of other people, especially other people who were different. It's funny in Valhalla with a Twist of Leaf. One of the stories was a story that I wrote for a Lovecraft themed anthology, and because Lovecraft always wrote about kind of these reedy, introverted, loner white dudes,
basically
surrounded
himself.
himself. I wrote the
It's
story
like
about
Poe
two.
in this way. I like Poe in this way.
Yeah,
Oh, and
but
then, yeah.
but the story, the Lovecraftian story I wrote in here for which is called The Green Tunnel, features a couple, a man and a woman who are very physical and vigorous and love life, and they're out and they're out on the Appalachian Trail, which is based on my experiences hiking the Appalachian Trail with my friend Puka, and they encounter cosmic horror on the Appalachian Trail, not because they're scared of the freaky otherworldly thing, but because they're like, we love life, we love the woods, we love the thing, and we respect nature. And holy shit, what is that? Oh fuck, I'm dead. Because I wanted to completely invert the Lovecraft trope while staying true to the spirit of Lovecraft, which was the
have you ever
cosmic
played,
This is
horror.
interesting, funny. I love
Have you
it.
ever played Lovecraft-esque?
Dai, lo chiedi a tutti proprio. Okay, he's always asking this to anyone
Wait,
who's
I'll
here.
Never heard
write
of
you
it.
down. Lovecraft-esque.
Okay, is a
No, I've
question
never
in
heard of
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
Call of
really
Cthulhu I've played, but I've never played that
no.
one.
Well, Lovecraft
No, it's a very-
it's another mind-blowing RPG.
Yeah, it's great.
And
it's great.
it's really
Independent.
interesting. Yeah, it's an indie game. Well, the interesting thing is that you tell a Lovecraft story without the Cthulhu mythos. You tell an original Lovecraft story, and
And you would like it. Is no rule, very few rules, no sheet, no character sheet, no
Yeah, and
no
it's,
dice, no.
and with
Just
no
a light.
dice, no game master.
Cool.
Basically, there
Three,
is only
three
one.
characters.
No, only one character.
No, characters, vabbè,
Three.
voglio dire
Yeah, well,
tre-
the game
come
is
si chiama?
designed. The game is designed to be played with 3 people, like the three
Yeah,
of us.
I do want to name it. I do want to name them conductor, not gamers.
Well,
They are not characters. They are the
No, they are
narrator-
roles. They are roles.
Roles, yeah.
Yeah.
You have a role. It's not character.
As a group, you create the protagonist, and it will be only one protagonist for entire story. But the person who play the protagonist changes over the course of the scene.
Yeah.
Like for instance, during the first scene, I'm the protagonist,
Yeah,
and
you're the
Laura
witness,
is the
the
master.
witness.
In the
I
next
just
scene,
had-
Laura will be the protagonist, and you will be the game master for the scene. And it's made for just a one-shot game. And
For 3 person, no? Just 3.
yeah, two
Yeah.
or three people
Two or three per
would
people.
be the best. And it's really cool because you can play with with a protagonist that you don't see in any other Lovecraft story, like a female protagonist, or as you said, a vigorous and young dude.
Also, if in the recent, also in the Call of Cthulhu, classic Call of Cthulhu, you could play also even if you were if you are a girl, or if because the characters are generic.
Yeah, the
So
problem that I have with Call of Cthulhu, the game, is that, well, when you play the game, it doesn't look like the Lovecraft story.
Yeah, that could be a problem. That could be a problem.
While Lovecraft-esque, at the end of the game, you actually have told a story in the way of Lovecraft.
Yeah, thank you. I added it to my wish list on Drive-Thru RPG.
Whoa.
Thank you for telling me about it, because I hadn't heard
No
about
problem.
it before now.
No problem. Okay, so
We should probably wrap up, because I noticed we've been talking for almost 4
Yeah,
hours.
probably.
and it's
that's why,
probably
in fact, I
really
was-
late
in
over
fact-
there.
in fact, I was,
Yeah,
it's not a problem for me, but
it's
I
2
want
o'clock
to.
a.m. here.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, it's not a problem for me. I like your company. I would be here,
yours
stay
as
here
well.
other 4 hours, but I don't want to bore you because you've been. I told you before it was my last question because you've been too kind. But I see that you and Phil,
Yeah.
you're
Both
quite.
of you are awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're dealing so well with the games, so I didn't want to interrupt you. So, Phil, now I don't want to bore you really anymore. I don't want to waste your time anymore. But I love
No
your
worries.
company. I've been honored to have you here. I thank you so much.
Thank you
And
as well.
whenever you want, doors are open. A long road. What is Felipe? No, I don't understand what is. What you mean, Felipe? A long road.
Is that it's been that
What
the
is it?
conversation has been a long road? or
Yeah,
The
probably.
conversation, yeah,
It-
a long road, yeah, but a very nice road, a very nice travel,
Likewise.
and I wish to see you again here whenever you want. You read me, we can play, we can chat, we can do whatever you want. So
Thank you. And likewise.
you're the welcome. And
Just
thank you
write
for-
us, and we are here for you.
whatever.
We're attached on. We're connected on Facebook now too. Correct?
Yeah.
I know that Laura and I
and
are.
Let me
What?
check.
Because I especially the Bluebeard's Bride. I want to play Bluebeard's Bride with y'all.
Oh yeah, I'm on.
I just
Okay.
send you
Done.
an invitation on
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Add
right.
friend. Okay, done.
Yeah,
Kind of.
right.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
on.
done.
I'm on absolutely. Whenever you want, we are here, and
Whenever you want, we are here.
we will see also. I hope for strollers because I will, and thank you also for Ben. I was saying for making me know Ben because it's very nice. It's very funny, and he loves Italy
Ben's
too.
awesome.
He loves Italy a lot. So thank you for the blessing on my Mage 20th edition,
Wow.
and I give you so. See you. I don't want to. I don't want to put you away from the streaming. I can do okay. I count one. Just I have to prepare my psychologically. Okay.
Thank you all, everyone.
Thank you, and bye.
It was a pleasure, really.
Thank you.
Well,
And
yeah, an
likewise,
honor,
a pleasure
an
and an
honor.
honor with you as well.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
goodbye, and have a good day.
And have a
there.
good day, yeah.
Enjoy your day. Bye,
you.
Phil.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Ok, mi dispiace di averlo. Ciao Phil! Mua! Che ancora ci vede, che mi dispiace di averlo tolto dalla streaming. E niente, ragazzi, è stato fantastico. Cioè, io non pensavo neanche che durasse così tanto perché è proprio una bella chiacchierata. Veramente Phil è fantastico. E grande, soprattutto, ecco, prendete esempio dalle cose che ha detto, mi raccomando, prendete tutto quello che ha detto, è stato oro, secondo me, perché è quello che abbiamo sempre detto pure noi su tante cose. E quindi è stato per me è stata una bellissima live, mi sono divertita.
Quando ci saranno delle altre diatribe sui vari gruppi, tu posta
Io posto
il pezzo di video
carica, il pezzo
dicendo
di
guarda,
L'ha
quote.
detto lui, quindi zitti tutti. Ok,
Esatto.
no, vabbè, però anche lì c'è libertà, proprio perché
No, certo.
bisogna la libertà è anche questa. E quindi niente ragazzi, allora io che facciamo? Vi salutiamo perché è passato tantissimo tempo,
Sì,
ci vediamo di nuovo, abbiamo un altro ospite. Giovedì prossimo abbiamo un altro ospite, non ve lo dico chi è perché poi la solita sorpresa.
Io non ci
grande anche
sarò,
lui.
però tanto ormai
Ci sto
il
io,
lavoro l'ho
tanto ormai
fatto.
vabbè,
Esatto.
tanto che gli frega, ormai lui la vede Phil, poi adesso basta, mi abbandonerà.
No,
E
bene,
quindi
bene.
niente, voglio vedere. E quindi niente, poi vi rivediamo chi è l'ospite della prossima settimana, grandissimo anche lui, e sicuramente, spero di vedervi in tanti. E quindi per questa volta, ragazzi, un bacione, sempre dalla vostra luna, in questo caso anche da Phil, White
Da
McKee,
White McKee.
altro Phil 2, Phil al quadrato. E
White
quindi,
McKee.
ciao ragazzi, allora, vediamo se ho capito bene come si end the broadcast, un bacione e buonanotte.